You guys ready? 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 Phones? Phones on silent? Good evening, everyone. We're ready to begin tonight's City of Gardena City Council meeting for Tuesday, October the 22nd, 2019. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Madam Mayor, all members of the Gardena City Council are present.
Okay, thank you. Mr. City Attorney, do we have anything to report from closed session?
No, we don't. No reportable action was taken.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, it will be led by two students from Gardena High School, which is Kelia Rojas and Valentina Martinez Garcia. Immediately following that, we will be led in our invocation by the Reverend Rick Facilio. So at this time, please stand on our pledges. Please come forward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated.
Actually, we're going to have you continue standing. Reverend, if you come forward, please.
You can just bow your heads. Father, thank you for our democracy and the process that we get to practice here in the United States. And thank you that we come to you tonight asking for your wisdom, your blessing, and your favor on our city council and our citizens who partake tonight. Lord, I just pray for your favor. I pray for unity, because a house divided can't stand, and neither can a city. I pray that you would bless every member here and every citizen here. And I pray for our police department, our fire department, our civil workers, our EMTs, our schools. I pray for our neighborhoods. I just pray for your blessing and your protection and for your favor. And we just thank you for what you're going to do tonight in the precious name of Jesus. And everyone says amen. Amen. Thank you.
You may be seated. If I can have our two pledgers come back to the front. Two pledgers, come on back up. So tonight's Pledge of Allegiance was led by Kelia Rojas, who's in the 12th grade, and Valentina Martinez Garcia, who is also in the 12th grade. They're both students at Gardena High School, and their principal is Miss Rosemarie Martinez. Kelia and Martina were selected to represent Gardena High School, as both of them are excellent students and valued members of the Gardena Drug and Alcohol Abuse Prevention Task Force at the school. So let's begin with Ms. Rojas first. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Thank you so much for giving me this honor. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Give her a round of applause, everyone. And Valentina, would you like to say anything?
Well, same as Kelly, thank you so much for letting us be here and be able to stand where you are right now. Just thank you.
Oh, you're
very
welcome.
much.
Give her a round of applause as well. Well, thank you guys both for leading us. You did a great job, and we look forward to seeing you guys back in the future. And you guys are both seniors, right? So you'll be graduating soon? No? Oh, I thought I saw 12th grade. Never mind.
I'm a senior. She's a
10th grader.
10th grade? Okay, well, congratulations on graduating soon, and good luck to you, because it will be coming in a couple of years. You can have your
Thank you
seat
so
now.
much.
Thank you. Next, if I could have the Reverend Facilio please come back to the front. Is he still here? Come on back up. So tonight's invocation was led by the Reverend Rick Facilio, who is the pastor of New Hope Fellowship, which is located at 16390 South Normandy Avenue. Reverend Facilio has been the pastor of New Hope Fellowship since January of 1995. He was born in Manchester and moved to Southern California in 1965. Prior to coming to Gardena, he was a pastor on staff at Hope Chapel in Hermosa Beach. He has been on numerous mission trips, including traveling to Malaysia, Nicaragua, India, Mexico, and Jerusalem. Previously a bivocational pastor, Reverend Facilio now devotes his energies full-time to his congregation and to many ministries of New Hope Fellowship. Pastor Rick and his wife, Debbie, have 4 children, Francesca, Vincent, Cecilia, and Daniela. Their children serve in various ministries in the church as well as in their community through the police, fire, EMT, and nursing fields. So, pastors, anything you would like to say? You might want to come to the microphone just so our viewers at home can hear. We're going to hit that button right there for you.
Thank you for the opportunity. And
Okay.
God bless Gardena Beach.
All right, thank you. Gardena Beach, I like that. Where's our economic guy? We're going to start marking ourselves as the beach now. There you go. So next we have our military veteran that we recognize at all of our city council meetings tonight. Tonight we have Mr. Daryl A. Hogan, who was selected by Mayor Pro Tem Art Kaskanian. Mayor Pro Tem, is there anything you'd like to say before I read his bio?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Hogan, for your service. We do appreciate it, and everything that you've done to this country. Thank you very much.
Yes. And sir, if you can come forward, I'm going to read your bio here, and it reads as follows. Mr. Hogan is 71 years of age and a longtime resident of Gardena. His military service includes, at the age of 19, Mr. Hogan was inducted into the U.S. Army on April 29, 1968, and served during the Vietnam War until he was honorably discharged on April 6, 1970, at the rank of Specialist 5. His initial training was completed at Fort Polk, Louisiana. Then he was assigned to the Aviation Center at Fort Rucker, Alabama, as a heavy truck driver, but spent most of his time as a volunteer flying with the Warrant Officer helicopter trainees. In March of 1969, Hogan received orders to report to the Army base at Fort Lewis, Washington, and from there was assigned to Cameron Bay in Southeast Asia. Yet he was almost immediately reassigned to Long Binh, moved to Cu Chi, then ended up in Tay Ni, all in the South Vietnam. While he was there, he served as the ammunition handler for Company A, Company B, and Company C, with the 4th Battalion, the 23rd Infantry Unit 25 Infantry Division. His final military service assignment was back in Long Binh, Vietnam. For his military service, Mr. Hogan was awarded the following: the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, the Vietnam Campaign Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, the Bronze Star Medal. Also of note, for the past 5 or 6 years, Mr. Hogan has been under treatment at the VA hospital. Yet, as such, he and his four other patients have formed their own group of volunteers to help countless number of new veterans coming into the hospital so they could receive the treatment they need and deserve. Also of interest, Mr. Hogan is the 9th child of 9 children and the 7th son of 7 boys. All of his brothers served in either the U.S. Air Force or the U.S. Army. Congratulations, sir. Also, we have a special certificate from our Assembly Member Al Marasucci. Council Member, will you read that, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a certificate of recognition to Mr. Daryl A. Hogan, United States Army, in recognition and celebration of your dedication and service to the United States of America, and with sincere appreciation for your selfless acts of courage. Congratulations, Assembly Member Al Marasucci, Assembly District 66. So
Thank you.
congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So along with receiving the special coin that we have specifically designed for you, you'll also receive copies of today's pictures with all the council members, as well as a DVD of today's meeting. And your picture will be on the kiosk on the corner of Redondo Beach Boulevard and Western for all of Gardena to see. So, go ahead.
That's your coin, sir. All right, and this is your certificate from the assembly.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, yes.
You can copy.
Okay. I'd like to, excuse me, my voice has been like this for about 3-4 weeks now, and I got to find out what's going on wrong with it, but it's starting to disappear. But anyway, I'd just like to say thank you to all the council for nominating me to receive this. It's an honor to be here and a privilege to receive this. It's also an honor to represent all the Vietnam veterans that did their time in Vietnam, and I like to always bring that up because during our time when we came back home, we were never recognized. But I'm finding now that how much we are being recognized, and I want to thank everybody that's recognizing it now. There's still a lot of us that are still kind of in that little mode, but I do a lot at the VA Veterans Hospital to help everybody in whatever means that they need help. We help with the paralyzed veterans, with the spinal cord veterans, and anybody else that comes in that needs mental health or stuff like that. So I'm really involved in that now, and I'm going to continue to do that probably as long as I can. And just, it was an honor to do what I did, to serve my country, and I don't know what else I could say, but thank you all for honoring me here today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So next, we have a certificate of recognition that's being presented to Councilmember Henderson, and this is being presented, Beck, if you don't mind handing me that. This is being presented from the Gardena City Council to the Honorable Dr. Mark Henderson, and this certificate is, I'll just hand it on over here. This is, as you can see, this certificate is being presented to Councilmember Henderson because he was the president of the ICA, which stands for the Independent Cities Association, for 2008 through 2019 as a president. I know it was a lot of work that he had to do, an outside committee. So we were going to give it to him at his ceremony, but we thought it would be more fitting to present it to you here tonight. So just so you know, the recognition reads as follows. The certificate of recognition is being presented to the Honorable Mark E. Henderson, who is a council member of the city of Gardena, and this is an official acknowledgement of your numerous accomplishments and extending our deep appreciation for your commendable services to the city of Gardena and the other communities as the 2018-2019 president of the Independent Cities Association. And it goes on to say the entire city council deem it an honor and a privilege to present this recognition to our council colleague and offer you our sincere congratulations and best wishes for your continued success now that you have retired from that position. So congratulations again. Next, we have, oh, I'm sorry, I took this out of order here. We have a certificate of commendation that's going to be presented to Sergeant Nicholas Pepper. Sergeant Pepper, if you can come forward. I'm going to read this certificate first, and I'm sure Deputy Chief is probably going to say a few words. So the certificate reads as follows. The certificate of commendation being presented to Nicholas Pepper is an official acknowledgement and with our deep appreciation for an outstanding and exemplary 29 years of service to the city of Gardena as a police sergeant with the police department. So we, the mayors and the members of the city council, the city of Gardena, are pleased to present this special recognition to you for your longtime city service and express our sincere and best wishes for a healthy, enjoyable, and a rewarding retirement, which was effective October 3rd, 2019. Congratulations, and thank you for your time with Gardena. Deputy Chief, would you like to say some things?
Sure. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, it's an honor to be here to help celebrate the 29-year career of Sergeant Nick Pepper. But as you know, working for the City of Gardena, the Gardena PD, it is a family affair, so I'd like to also acknowledge his family and his wife, Miriam, who's here today, and his children who have stood by him during that time and supporting him. So on behalf of the Gardena Police Department, myself, my command staff, the multiple officers that are lining the back of this room today, and all of the employees of Gardena PD, congratulations on your retirement, and we wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for the honor. My Gardena family has been around my whole career. I started at 15, and I never looked back. I thought it was just the greatest place, and I picked Gardena because of the family, that the camaraderie that was the togetherness that the officers had, and that's why I chose here at the ripe old age of 19. So it's been an amazing career. It really has, and I'm happy to say, as I stand here today, that you have amazing officers behind me. Amazing. The future looks so bright. And just hope that you treat them well because they are family. And to the citizens, thank you, because I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Thank you.
Well said. Okay, next we have a presentation honoring the city of Gardena as a finalist in the 2019 Most Business-Friendly City in Los Angeles. And we have, come on forward here. We have Miss Barbara Levine from the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation. Also, we have our Economic Development Director, Mr. Spencer De La Cruz. I'll go ahead and let you guys speak first.
Well, good evening.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. On behalf of the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, it is a pleasure to honor the fine city of Gardena as a most business-friendly finalist in the population of 50,000 and over category, and to sincerely recognize your leadership, your commitment to business friendliness, your excellent programs, your jobs and business creation, and our longstanding economic development partnership. We really appreciate it. For those of you that might not be familiar with the LAEDC, we're a private nonprofit organization really created 37 years ago by the County Board of Supervisors as a way to help businesses expand and stay here, to attract, retain, and keep businesses here in the county. In 2006, we created the Most Business-Friendly City Award primarily because we got tired of hearing from site selectors, LA is not a friendly place to do business. Well, LA County is 4,000 square miles, 88 cities, 140 unincorporated communities, and so many of our esteemed communities and cities are not the one that has that kind of a reputation. So behold our program. It's the state's only business-friendly city award, and it recognizes cities that make economic development a priority, are committed to providing high-quality services at reasonable rates, deliver services beyond expectation, and we challenge cities to create an environment that's conducive for businesses, for retention and expansion across all industry sectors, and to attract, retain good quality jobs and encourage new business investment. And on behalf of LAEDC, it's a pleasure to honor you as a finalist for this award. And what thrills me even more, and even though I've been with the LAEDC for about 16 years, I'm only into my second year of covering Gardena as being part of my territory, and I had the pleasure of meeting Spencer, your economic development manager, about a year ago.
1 year ago.
And when I was talking with him about the city and talking about where the city was going and the kind of businesses you have here, and I'm an LA area native, so I've seen firsthand how the city has changed over the last 20 years. And I was excited at Spencer's enthusiasm and city management's encouragement to just go for it. Let's see what we can do. So here we are a year later, and it's my honor to, talk with the city and bestow on you some honors. But before we get there, you're in good company, because the night of November the 7th, which is our annual Eddie Awards, we're honoring Citibank as our corporate honoree. Our education honoree is your neighbor, Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. The individual honoree is Philip Washington, CEO of LA Metro. And in terms of other cities, you are in good company with other cities in the category of 50,000 and over, including Bellflower, Lancaster, Norwalk, Pasadena, and Rosemead. And for the cities with a population less than 50,000, Duarte, La Mirada, Monrovia, San Gabriel, and Santa Fe Springs. Well, you're doing a lot of things right, and the Blue Ribbon panel of judges wanted to make it a point to go public with what you are doing right. Just a couple of things that we can talk about here. They recognize your ability to streamline the processes, online business licenses, the facade improvement program, fee reductions and permit waivers to stimulate new development, resulting in 4 new development projects. It's pretty exciting. Business assistance testimonials, that was one hell of a good presentation you put together, Spencer. Professional development, a brand new business resource guide, expedited fee-based permitting. We applaud you. We look forward to seeing you November the 7th at the Eddie Awards. I do not know who the winner is. I'm going to be surprised, but it's my sincere honor and pleasure to bestow on you a plaque from the LAEDC honoring Gardena as a business-friendly finalist, and also a beautiful scroll from the LA County Board of Supervisors and signed by the Honorable Mark Ridley Thomas.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I think we also have one from our Assembly member as well, so that's a great honor, just being a finalist. And I say get the banners ready, because I want to post it on every street if we win.
Indeed.
Okay, very
Indeed.
good. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, do you mind grabbing the? Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Picture with you guys?
Oh, yes, sure. Let's take a picture, guys.
Don't let me forget my glasses. Take the awards.
Okay, so next we have, let's see, Los Angeles County Sanitation District, the Gardena Pump Trunk and Sewer Rehabilitation Project, which is going to be presented by Ms. Alice Kuo.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Alice, and I'm project engineer for LA County Sanitation District. I'm here tonight for the upcoming sewer rehab project that will be starting in city of Gardena. We're 23 independent wastewater districts that serves about 5.5 million people in LA County. In total, we operate 11 treatment plants, here shown in blue dots. Kind of hard to see. And about 1,400 miles of sewers showing yellow lines. Sorry. There we go. City of Gardena is within district number 5. This project will rehab in total 12,500 feet of concrete pipes. We will start along Raymond Avenue between Marine and Redondo Beach Boulevard. The second reach is along Redondo Beach Boulevard between Raymond and Normandy Avenue. After that, the project extends all the way south along Normandy Avenue from Redondo Beach Boulevard down to 170th Street. And finally, the last reach is along Artesia Boulevard between Normandy Avenue and just east of Gramercy Place, where the city boundary crosses into Torrance. The last sewer reach here, shown in black, is also part of the project, but is within the city of Torrance. The sewer pipes we're rehabbing ranges from size 10 to 24 inches in diameter. We'll also be rehabbing the existing manholes along the way. The sequence of the project will begin in City of Gardena and ends in City of Torrance, as I had shown in a previous slide. This project was advertised in September, and a contractor will be selected in November. And after that, construction will start in January next year, and the construction will end before the end of year 2020. The estimated construction cost for this project is approximately $3.9 million. The reason why we need to have this project is because this trunk sewer is old and corroded. It was constructed in the late 1920s, and it's been on our annual maintenance cycle since 2011, which means rehab is necessary to extend the service life of this trunk sewer. The rehab method we choose for this project is CIPP. CIPP stands for Cure in Place Pipe. This method is less time consuming because installation uses existing manholes as access points, and the final product will extend about 5 years of service life to the existing sewer pipe. The entire CIPP process can be done in 4 steps. First, this process must be performed in dry condition, which means all the flow inside the existing sewer pipe must be removed. Once the flow is removed and the hose pipe is cleaned, the liner is inserted into the sewer pipe through the existing manhole to another manhole. After the liner has been inserted in place, the liner material gets cured through a heating process. The felt tube will harden through the curing process and forms a new tube inside the hose pipe. And finally, the original house connections will be restored after the curing process. One of the biggest concerns any city's construction project is the impact on the residents and businesses. To minimize this surprise factor, multiple notifications will be given at various times prior to the planned work. The first notice we give out will be 2 months ahead of time, given by the LACSD flyer. The second notice will be the 14-day notice given by the contractor. And finally, the contractor will give a third notification 7 days before starting any planned work on site. And when necessary, a 24-hour doorknob notification will be given when a sewer service will be interrupted. Once the construction starts, the major cause of impact around the construction site will be the traffic. The contractor is required to prepare and submit their traffic control plans to use as first order of business. We will then forward this traffic control plan to City for review and approval. Here is an example of a traffic control plan from a previous project. As part of the traffic control, typical mitigations can be expected, such as parking restrictions to maintain traffic lanes, shallow trenching to protect flow bypass lines across major streets and intersections. And drive-over ramps will be provided for blocked driveways or traffic lanes. And when necessary, pedestrian ramps may be used at crosswalks. In addition to the traffic control measures, there are some other project components that may impact the residents. Flow bypass equipment that may be placed out of the traffic sway or inside the protected work area to provide continuous wastewater service. Noise level of the equipment will be required to meet city's noise ordinance. And contractors will be required to work during city's normal working hours, with the exception of CIPP installation work. Depending on the size and thickness of the liner pipe, CIPP installation may take up to 24 hours to install and cure. Special request working hours such as nighttime work or weekend work may be necessary to avoid areas such as schools. All special request working hours will be requested by the contractor through the traffic control plan review process and approved by the city. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. Thank you for the chance to present this project.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Are there any questions anybody has regarding this? Go ahead. What's your question, Councilmember?
Just a quick question. Did you say that all this will be done through the sewer manholes that are already there? So
Yes.
you're not going to tear up the streets?
Tearing up the street will happen When during the flow bypass, if it's necessary.
Okay, because you just showed me Normandy Avenue all the way 170th. Normandy just got redone,
Yes.
brand new street.
Yes, we have that in our contract that when they have to, if they open up a shallow trench, they will have to fix it curb to curb, the way that you guys have done, prepared.
Okay, Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The question is more for city management. In regards to now with all these infrastructure improvements, does it improve our bond rating as a city with these infrastructure improvements? There's no impact.
That has no impact at this time.
Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have a couple of proclamations here. The first one is the 100th anniversary of the passing of the 19th Amendment, which is August 2019 through August 2020. It states, the bold and courageous women who fought for the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution deserve special recognition throughout the next year as California, especially Los Angeles County and its cities, look forward to the 100th anniversary of the signing of the amendment on August 18, 2020. California holds a special place in history of women's suffrage as California's women gained the right to vote with the ratification of Amendment 8 to the Constitution of the State of California in 1911, nearly a decade before the ratification of the 19th Amendment. The County of Los Angeles is celebrating this anniversary and has enacted numerous policies to ensure women and girls can thrive here, including the establishment of the Los Angeles County Commission of Women and the 5-year Women and Girls Initiative. So the City of Gardena is pleased to commemorate this milestone anniversary, and the City of Gardena, in concurrence with the foregoing, hereby proclaim August 2019 through August 2020 to be the 100th anniversary of the passing of the 19th Amendment, and in our community to recognize the important role that the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution has played in advancing the rights of all women. Also, we have another proclamation, and this is for Code Enforcement Officers Appreciation Week, which is October 6th through October 12th, 2019. The state of California has proclaimed the second week of each October as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week. Code enforcement officers provide for the safety, health, and welfare of citizens through the enforcement of local, state, and federal laws and ordinances dealing with various issues of building, zoning, housing, animal control, environment, health, and life safety. The officers have challenging and demanding roles and often do not receive the recognition for the job that they do to improve the quality of life for residents and businesses in local communities. They are dedicated and they're highly qualified. They're well-trained professionals who share the goals of preventing neighborhoods from deteriorating and enhancing communities and ensuring safety and preserving property values through their knowledge, training, and application of housing, zoning, and nuisance laws. So the city is extremely proud of Gardena's very own code enforcement officers, Robin Bailon, Hurston, Coronado, Gabriel Jimenez, Gabriela Martinez, and Javion Mathau, and take this opportunity to recognize and honor them for their service and acknowledge their role in leading the way to improve the quality of life within our community. So we proclaim October 6th through the 12th, 2019 to be Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week, and then City of Gardena, we call upon all residents and businesses to join expressing our appreciation for the dedication and services performed by Gardena's code enforcement officers. I have to admit, they do a great job. Let's give them a round of applause. They're not here, but they should know we really appreciate them. So next we have a proclamation for Gardena's National Red Ribbon Week, and we have representatives who are here today. If you guys want to come forward while I read this. The proclamation states as follows. Whereas the abuse of drugs and alcohol and tobacco impedes the ability of youth and adults to lead healthy and productive lives, and whereas California has led the nation in making expansive investments in prevention by launching the most ambitious prevention education program statewide, advocating that communities and individuals continue prevention and education in programs and activities to discourage the abuse of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Whereas the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration have issued information about recent outbreaks of lung disease, illnesses, and deaths associated with e-cigarettes and vaping. And whereas the Gardena Drug and Alcohol Abuse Program, which is also known as GDAP, their coalition, in conjunction with the Gardena High School Task Force and ADAP, are coordinating Gardena's Red Ribbon Week, celebrating to support year-round prevention, education, and offering citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their support of healthy, drug-free lifestyles and to develop an attitude of intolerance to the use of illegal drugs and the illegal use of legal drugs. And whereas established in 1985, the National Red Ribbon celebration will be observed again in 2019. In communities across America throughout Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st, during which the citizens of Gardena will show their commitment to healthy, drug-free communities by wearing and displaying their red ribbons during the week-long campaign. So the City of Gardena, California proclaims October 23rd through October the 31st, 2019 to be Gardena National Red Ribbon Week. And then we encourage all of our citizens in Gardena to participate in the drug abuse prevention activities in conjunction with the importance of the observance and to be proactive within their homes, their schools, and neighborhood, and Gardena as a whole, to raise the awareness and take action against the harm caused by alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, prescribed drugs, and other related drug abuse that can deeply impact the lives of our young people in our community. So the City of Gardena is pleased to support the National Red Ribbon Week in 2019 with their theme, Send a Message, Stay Drug-Free. Would you like to say anything at this time?
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tracy Sarawatari, Community Organizer for ADAP, working in Gardena, also a member of the Gardena Drug and Alcohol Abuse Prevention Task Force. I want to say thank you very much for your support over the years of our efforts with substance abuse prevention and recognizing this week as Red Ribbon Week. Honoring the efforts of Kiki Camarena and his fight to end the war on drugs. It's important that the community continues to be educated on the substance abuse issues facing our youth, especially with the alarming increase in vaping amongst middle and high school students. Thank you again. And I have two students here that also wanted to present something to you as well. You can give them a moment.
Good evening. We would like to present the City Council with this poster that was signed by citizens during the Heritage Festival. The community members pledged to live a drug-free life, and we would also like to give you these pins to celebrate Red Ribbon Week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, while they're bringing those up here, we're going to move on our calendar here. The next we have appointments here. Item number 4C1. Does any member of the council have any appointments to be made to any commissions, committees, or councils or boards at this time? If not, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Does any member of the council have any items that they wish to discuss separately on the consent calendar? If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next we're moving on to the Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. On October the 1st, 2019, they canceled their meeting. Also on October 15th, 2019, they also canceled their meeting. Let's see, next up is oral communications. Tonight we have 4 speakers. Let's see, we're going to begin tonight with Charletta Williams and then Benjamin Butler. Afterwards is Tracy Sawaturari. Tracy, did you want to speak again, or? Okay, so you'll be the third speaker, and the fourth speaker is Corey, Andrea, Lisbeth, Kelia, and Valentina. So you guys will be the fourth speaker. So we'll begin tonight with the first one, Charlotta Williams. And I just want to remind everybody that you do have 3 minutes to speak. When the red light comes on here, that will alert you that your 2 minutes are up. And when the red light comes on, that will alert you that your 3 minutes are up. So we appreciate your cooperation in advance. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council, and good Honorable Mayor Tosh Serta. My name is Charlotta Williams, and I'm just a citizen here in the fine city of Gardena. And recently, maybe over the last 2 months, I received this annual Live, Work, and Play in Gardena. So I read it as carefully as I could because it gives us a lot of information about the programs that are here in Gardena. And I got to this one about Get Involved Gardena, which is listing the services that the citizens of Gardena think are necessary to keep the city as it is, a good city for all people. My interest, of course, was this last thing there. It says maintaining senior citizen services. Of course, I know that money's also going out for our parks and recreation at Raleigh Park. It's going out too for the Nakaoka Center, improvement there, and of course, PRIM. My concern is this sentence that's in this article. It says, 78% of the residents believed, who answered the survey that they had, believed the city has a real need for additional funds to provide the level of city services that residents need and want. And it was a phrase of additional funds that caught my eye. So my question to the council is, in your calendar for the year, is there some plan to raise taxes for these additional funds, or how are we going to raise the money that is necessary for any project? I don't know much about the budget. I know we have a new Mr. Osorio, who is our new city manager. But still, I would like to know, are there any plans to raise taxes in the city of Gardena?
Ma'am, oral communications gives you the opportunity to ask any questions you want, but as a council, we generally don't respond back. But we will follow back up with you, our city manager, with information directly to you in regards to that question. And also, probably, I don't know if this meeting or maybe the next meeting, during the city manager's report at the end, he will probably start having some discussion about the questions similar to yours.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, our next speaker is Mr. Benjamin Butler.
Hello. I want to thank the Gardena Council for allowing me to speak here and recognize them all. I want to speak about the cracks around my block, cement sidewalks. I've just gotten out of a walker, and I'm almost handicapped to walk around on the sidewalk. It has many cracks in it. My friend, he lives down the block from me. He just had a stroke and was in the hospital a month, and he is still walking with a walker around the block. And he can't make it here tonight. But there's a lot of cracks in the sidewalks when you go around the 146th Street, Watkins, Dublin, and 147th Street. And one bad place is where they took a tree out. They took a tree out of 146 Lebanon, Dublin, and they left the roots underneath the sidewalk. And the sidewalk was pushed up. The sidewalk is cracked. And it's very hard to walk there. and it needs to instant help. They need to redo the sidewalk. Another bad place is at, let me see, what the heck is it? On 147th and Watkins, there's a house on the corner, and the sidewalk is pushed up from the roots, way up, about this high, at least 3 inches high. Now they've tried to repair it with some tar, but it doesn't work out. It just doesn't work out. It's very dangerous walking around there. My wife and I walk around there in the evening or in the daytime, and it's hard to handle the walking for myself. I know my friend in a walker, he asked me about it, so he couldn't make it here tonight. Now that's one thing I want to talk about. Now, there's something else I want to say. At the Jack in the Box corner at Van Ness and Redondo Beach Boulevard, that's Gardena, that corner, going south and east there. Now, on the right-hand lane there, as you go across the street, going north, there's a bump in the road there, and it shakes the cars apart. It caused me, I had to have my front end aligned twice because there's a kind of a bulge in the road there. So that needs to be fixed like yesterday. And I've noticed it, and I always seem to forget that I have to go in the left-hand lane. But if you go in the right-hand lane to make a right turn, that is Gardena. That is Gardena. That's not Torrance. And it says up on the lamppost right next to Jack in the Box, that's
Go ahead.
that's Gardena. So I want to make sure that gets in the agenda. Well, that's about all I can say. The road needs to be fixed, and also the sidewalks around where I told you about, they need to be fixed. And it seems to me they take trees out in Gardena and leave the roots underneath it. That doesn't get it because the sidewalks many times are at an angle. So I hope that can be addressed, and I hope you folks would take care of it.
Okay, Mr. Butler, I'm going to have Mr. Cruz speak with you. Mr. Cruz will raise his hand. Or actually, Mr. Cruz, maybe when he sits down, if you can come to him, and he will get those addresses for you dealing with the street on Redondo Beach Boulevard and Van Ness, as well as those different locations, and we
Yeah.
will get on that right away.
Appreciate it very much. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, sir, for bringing
folks.
that to our attention.
Yes.
Next speaker is Tracy Sarawatari.
Sarawatari, yes.
Thank you.
It's phonetic. I just wanted to announce to the council, make you aware that we're having a prescription drug take-back event this Saturday from 10 to 2, out here in front of the Gardena Police Department. We've partnered with the DEA and Gardena Police Department to put this on so that residents know that they could get rid of their expired or unused medications. For the first time as well, they are taking e-cigarette cartridges, used e-cigarette cartridges, so they don't go into the landfill and cause more damage to the environment than they've already been causing to people. So I have flyers here. I didn't know where to leave them, so
back
they are
here,
here.
Louis.
I've also given them to the police department, so I'm hoping that the flyers were put on the website. I'm not sure, but it is Saturday from 10 to 2, out in front of the police
I
department.
think I've already seen it on social media.
Oh,
so,
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Corey, Andrea, Lisbeth, Kelia, and Valentina.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Andrea Villarreal. I am a current sophomore at Gardena High School, and I am part of High School Task Force. I will tell my experience of vaping and smoking in my high school. Throughout the semester, I have seen 3 or 4 students vaping or smoking, and I am surrounded to polluted air and different scents that are not pleasant. Well, I think why students in my high school smoke could be just to be cool or persuasion from friends or social media. One time after school, I was walking to get picked up by my parent, and I saw smoke from a student, and my reaction was disappointed and disgusted. In general, I do not promote vaping or smoking because it is not good for your health or anyone's health, even if it's just a little bit that is being inhaled and exhaled. All exposure to secondhand smoke is toxic. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Kaori, and I am a current freshman at Gardena High School, and I am in high school task force. Today, I want to tell you about what I encounter at school. At school, I usually see students vaping or smoking in isolated or unsupervised areas. Today, my friend and I were walking on the school's blacktop, and I saw a group of students that were looking very suspicious. I saw someone in that group pull out an apple and then lit a lighter under it and began inhaling what was inside of it. It's not the first time I've seen this group of people smoking, especially at PE. I find it disturbing that people choose to smoke instead of partaking in activities that normal teens their age would do. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Lizbeth. I am a senior at Gardena High School, and I am part of the Gardena High School Task Force. I am here to tell you about my experiences with vaping on the public buses. I, like many other students, get on the bus to and from school, and I've noticed that during the evenings, on our way back home, there is a large number of students on the bus. It is very crowded, and because it's crowded, it's hard to see, but sometimes in the back, some students smoke or vape. They stand by the back and they will smoke. It stinks up the bus, but nobody can tell who it is because it is very packed. And along with this, the smoke will go around, and sometimes it'll hit people's faces, and I don't think that's very pleasant for myself or anybody else. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Councilman. My name is Kelly Rojas, and I'm a 12th grader at Gardena High School. So something I want to point out is that...
Don't worry, go ahead.
Something I would like to point out is that our school, although we really enforce like backpack checks and things to check for objects in students' backpacks, when they do check the backpacks, the students already know and they tell everyone else at school that they have backpack checks. So that way they can give like whatever items they have to their friends who already had their backpacks checked. And they can get away with whatever probably illegal items they have. Just today during class, I noticed that one of like my classmates in front of me, he pulled out like a lighter, and it was like behind his backpack, and he just like started lighting it up. And I was like really concerned like for my safety because it was in like my environmental class, and there were like plants next to us, and I think that was really concerning for my safety. So I really think that that should be addressed as he was like so careless. So thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Valentina. I am a sophomore of Gardena High School and a high school task force member. And today I'm going to discuss about the issues I face on secondhand smoking. Not only is affecting the school, but it's affecting me personally. The last time I talked here, I was very sick and I was having issues on breathing inside class because the students keep smoking inside. Today I went to get a checkup on the doctor, and this is my third time getting sick in less than a month. So I asked the doctor what was happening. Then I saw a poster next to the room where it said that kids and teenagers who are exposed to secondhand smoke could get colds or headaches a lot, which I'm always getting headaches every day when I come to my house. So right now it's affecting me physically, and my health is getting worse each time because not only in my fourth period is happening, but most of my periods, it's smoking every day. And thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Let's see, where are we? Next up is we're going to move on to departmental items. First item is item number A1. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council. Agenda item 8A1 is the City of Gardena's Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP, update through September 30th, 2019. In an effort to continually update the City Council, our residents, and our community of our capital improvement projects, staff will now provide a CIP update quarterly. We have a short presentation of some of the completed projects that we've accomplished. As outlined in the staff report, some of the notable recreation completed projects throughout the city includes Freeman Park. This is a before and after pictures. As you can see before, the surface is in need of repair, and after that we have a nice blacktop with basketball court. Again, in Freeman Park, we have new structures, a futsal court and a handball court. At the Nakaoka Community Center, we have our new AV system working. We have, as you can see, the screen is about 85 inches with auxiliary screens in the back and on the other side, and speakers throughout. Raleigh Park, we have an auditorium, new AV system. Also in Raleigh Park, a new sunshade structure. For general services, we have the corner of Ardath and Redondo Beach Boulevard, as you can see before and after. Normandy Avenue. The pedestrian and sidewalk replacement project. This is a Crenshaw Boulevard street improvement. So the current status of other work in progress and upcoming projects are outlined in the attached staff report. What's required is to receive and file.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments? If not, we're going to receive and file this item here. We're going to move on to, excuse me, item number 8B1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 8B1 is public hearing for items A and B, which is adoption of wireless facilities zoning code ordinance, amendment and adoption of wireless policy. Ordinance number 1806, adopting chapter 18.70 to regulate wireless facilities deployments on private and public property and in public right-of-way, and amending Gardena Municipal Code chapters as related to wireless facilities. Item B is a resolution number 6403, adopting a policy regarding wireless facilities as set forth in the Gardena Municipal Code 18.70.010. On July 23, 2019, the City Council adopted urgency ordinance number 1805, making changes in the Gardena Municipal Code relating to wireless facilities, and approved resolution number 6391, which adopted a wireless facilities policy. Because of the ordinance was adopted as an urgency ordinance, the city desires to readopt these regulations and policies in accordance with the public hearing procedures set forth in state and city law. A public hearing was duly noticed. On September 3rd, 2019, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing regarding the changes, after which it voted a 5-0-0, recommending the City Council adopt the changes set forth in ordinance number 1806 and the policy attached to resolution number 6403. These are the same code changes and policy approved by the City Council on July 23rd, 2019. Staff respectfully recommends that the City Council conduct a public hearing and introduce ordinance number 1806, amending the Gardena Municipal Code relating to wireless facilities, and adopt resolution number 6403, adopting a wireless facilities policy. Mr. Jonathan Kramer of Telecom Law Firm, the city's consultant, is now going to be making a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You've just heard my entire presentation. But I'll go over a few extra things just to round out the record. So the purpose of this ordinance and the resolution adopting the guidance is to basically anticipate the fact that wireless operators are going to be wanting to build a lot more sites in Gardena as they transition from their current systems to their future systems. To be clear, right now, City of Gardena only has 4G services and probably will only have 4G services for the next several years. 5G is being rolled out very slowly, and it will come to us eventually, but at this point, what the wireless companies are doing is basically building the infrastructure in anticipation of 5G. So this is a path forward to both facilitate the deployment of advanced wireless services and, as importantly, to preserve and protect the community aesthetics of Gardena. So that's the balance that we try to achieve through this entire process. This is a belt and suspenders process. As you've already heard, we've been here before. That is the belt part that Lisa Kranitz was involved with. I worked out with the city manager. He's going to be the suspenders here. But the belt and suspenders process is that we did adopt, and you did adopt, all of this already because we wanted to make sure that we have these rules in place at the beginning of the expected deployment. And we're starting to see wireless applications come in. So we now are coming back, as the city manager has already told you, to more formally do the same process. So that's the belt and suspenders. Oops. I'll figure this out. So in terms of what we're expecting coming up, we're expecting somewhere in the 500 to 700 number of cell sites potentially coming to Gardena over the next 5+ years. That's based on industry estimates in terms of how many sites they're going to need. And remember, they deploy per company, not per site. So there'll be wireless sites throughout the city. And the reason that this is necessary is that they need cell sites that are closer to the end users as part of this upgrade plan. So again, that's why these standards to protect the community aesthetics become so important with this many expected cell sites coming in over the next 5 years. And just for some pictures of types and the various types of cell sites, this is a 4G site for a Sprint site. And here's an AT&T site, 3 antennas on a light standard with a cabinet that would not generally be approvable here because we really favor undergrounding of the equipment. We're starting to see these coming into Gardena. These are basically very small radios that are put up on the steel ropes that go between poles. They look very similar to cable TV equipment. In fact, that device in the background with the 2 antennas pointing down is actually cable TV Wi-Fi. So they're very similar, and we'll be seeing a fair number of these coming into the city. I threw this in because it's a picture of how they deploy wireless in the French Quarter of New Orleans. And the point here is that there is no single design, there is no single answer. Each answer is based on community needs and design. So that's why the rules that have been adopted by you already and that we're asking you to re-adopt tonight essentially give staff the flexibility to find the right design for the right location. In terms of laws and regulations, since the last time I had the privilege of presenting to you, not much has changed. There have been no new wireless laws at the state or at the federal level. Really, the big action is at the FCC. The FCC in September, the end of September, last year, developed a small wireless facility order. That order really governs a lot of what we're trying to accomplish through the adoption of the ordinance and the resolution tonight. And frankly, most cities are very concerned about these rules. In fact, there are 10 lawsuits that are consolidated in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals right now to set aside a number of the FCC rules. My firm is actually representing the League of California Cities, League of Oregon Cities, and a number of other cities in suing the FCC to rescind some of these orders that try to take away our local control. So we're fighting this fight at several different levels. Number one, we're fighting it by adopting careful and considerate rules at the local level, and we're fighting it by challenging the basic rules in federal court. The FCC a couple of weeks ago opened another hearing process to further erode our authority. It's not a surprise because the FCC is an agency that seems to serve the wireless industry more than the public. I'm sure I'll take heck from that at some court hearing in the future. But as a practical matter, a coalition of governments around the country are already beginning to fight that fight to continue to protect local authority so that we don't lose control over how our communities look. This is really, we've already talked about this. The purpose of this is to update the ordinance, update the process that your staff uses. And all of these rules are already in effect now. They became effective last April. The takeaway here is that there are 3 sections of the ordinance and the resolution, essentially one that covers macro sites. Those are the big sites that we don't see that many of anymore, the big steel sites. The eligible facilities requests are the modifications to existing cell sites. That's the one where the FCC now is trying to make it harder for cities to say no. And the bulk of it is the small cells, because that's really where the big traffic is going to be over the next 5 years. Really, I could bore you to death with a lot of this, but I know that we've gone through this before. Essentially, we've got a process where they come in, they propose where they want to go. We have a hierarchy of locations that they have to go through to say what is the least intrusive based on what their need is. But we will be seeing cell sites in residential areas. So a lot of them are basically what is the least impactful site to meet their needs and still provide the communications that we know that Gardena residents want. Flexibility in the design standards, that's what I talked about earlier in terms of the fact that there is no specific design authorized by the resolution. Basically, it's a hierarchy of processes because, again, they have various designs for their equipment, and we have various parts of the city. So finding that where those two intersect is going to be a good process for your staff to use that process and the tools that are in the ordinance and the resolution to protect the community aesthetics. We've really spent a lot of time, and Lisa especially, I'll give her the credit, in terms of coming up with rules to minimize the intrusion into the right-of-way. We're trying to reduce the number of new street furniture cabinets that go in. We're trying to use the smallest footprint of equipment. There are issues where some cell sites require power meters, some don't. So we start with the premise that you shouldn't require a power meter because, again, it's another cabinet in the right-of-way. It's also another cabinet that bad guys can hide behind. So we want to reduce those from the right-of-way. So the recommendation, as you've already heard from the city manager, is to open the public hearing, take the testimony, close the hearing, and we believe that you should approve the first reading of the ordinance, which is, again, this is the suspenders part of the process, and adopt the resolution. And that's the quick overview. Of course, I'm here for your questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. City Manager, was there anything else before I open the public hearing?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to open the public hearing. And does any member of the council have any questions? We're going to start here. Mayor Pro Tem, first with you, and then with Councilmember Henderson.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Kramer, thank you very much. Everything was right to the point with your explanation, but my concern is 500 to 700 cell sites in the city of Gardena. I mean, we are a very small city. Every how many feet we gonna have a cell site?
We're going to have a lot as to where they go. They're going to be throughout the city. The part of the way that 5G will work and the way that 4G works now is to actually reduce the coverage of each cell site. The reason that's necessary is that the wireless companies don't have an unlimited number of frequencies. So they have to reuse the frequencies, and the way that they do that, in part, is to reduce the coverage area on frequency 1 so that they can put another site over here on frequency 1. The net result is that cell sites are being designed and anticipated now to cover roughly 700-foot radius. We're going to see a lot of cell sites.
So we're going to put cell sites up, so that means if there is a power pole or light pole or traffic pole, so we're going to have another one adjacent to it.
No. What the rules require basically is to first to use existing verticality. We want to avoid putting in new poles. So to the extent that there are light standards that can be repurposed to be both a light standard and a wireless facility, we'd like to see that. To the extent that there are wood poles, we want to see them use wood poles as well. The goal, again, is first try to use what's there before you come in. And it's a very hard process. The justification process they need to go through to say that they need a brand new pole is a very high standard.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Kramer, in regards to the 500 to 700 cell towers, that's not inclusive of all carriers, is it? Or that's per carrier?
We're expecting that's going to be all of the carriers, Doctor. It's going to be essentially, we're anticipating 4 carriers, even though Sprint and T-Mobile will be merging. They'll be running separate networks for a fair amount of time into the future.
So then my next question is in regards to us maintaining our local control, we would set the standard of who determines if another pole needs to go up, or because the FCC and the CPUC are saying that this is what we want to impose on cities, and they're kind of taking away a lot of our control. Do we still maintain that control?
A California Supreme Court decision came down recently that basically says that we have the right to determine community aesthetics as part of what the court is calling incommoding the right-of-way. The right-of-way can be incommoded, and this is a term that's over 100 years old, but it took wireless to get a definition out of the California Supreme Court. Also means aesthetic, so that the Supreme Court has broadened that, and we've utilized that ruling in this ordinance to maximize, to the extent we can, local control over just what you're talking about. Where they go, how they look, whether we want new poles or not. A wireless carrier does not, under California law, have the right to say, this is where we're going to go and tough luck for you. We have a say in that process, and that say is reflected in the rules in the resolution.
One other question, Madam Mayor. So in regards to that, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and we are the beholders because this is our community, does that open us up to further potential litigation if we just say that this really just tears up the aesthetics of this community, regardless of what you think and everything? Are we going back to court for that?
We are not allowed to say no. We're allowed to say where and to certain degrees how. Federal law prohibits us from regulating their technology, but federal law and state law also allow us to regulate the aesthetics of it. So, as I've said to you before, we're really in the aesthetics business.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Councilmember?
So I understand what Councilman Henderson's saying, but thank God we have Lisa Kranitz, because she's our land use person, and she's not going to allow people to just come in and put stuff up wherever they want to put it. And I think that was part of her putting in language that says, we don't care that you put it in. It's just the fact that we want to put in what fits in our city, and that it doesn't create, havoc and disarray and make our community look bad. So I think we're going to be okay with that.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that, Ronnie. The other question I have is then, do we have a mechanism to intercede if the carriers approach private property owners and say, hey, we can put a tower on your chimney or the tree in your backyard? They still have to get a permit, and we still have some say-so in the aesthetics of that.
Absolutely, Doctor. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? No? Okay, so there are two things we need to do at this point. Number one, we need to have somebody introduce the ordinance number 1806. If I can get Councilmember to do so. Okay, Councilmember Medina is going to be introducing ordinance number 1806. The second thing is, I'm sorry, I'm closing the public hearing at this time. The second thing is we need to get a motion to adopt resolution number 6403. I'm sorry?
Second.
Okay, it was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Medina. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. Next up is item number 8B2. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta and members of the City Council, Agenda Item 8B2 is a public hearing for items A, B, C, and D. And it's for the adoption of general plan amendment and zone change and call for review of Planning Commission action approving site plan review number 11-18 and tentative track map number 6-18, all relating to a 114-unit townhome community located at 1515 West 178th Street, and adoption of a mitigated negative declaration for all actions and adoption of a mitigation monitoring program for the tentative track map and site plan review, APN 6106-013-040 and 6106-013-041, EA number 20-18. Resolution number 6405 is adopting a mitigated negative declaration for a general plan amendment, number 2-18. Resolution number 6406 is approving a general plan amendment, number 2-18, from industrial and mixed-use overlay to high-density residential, relating to the 5.63-acre property located at 1515 West 178th Street. Ordinance number 1808 is approving a zone change from general industrial M2 with mixed-use overlay to high-density multiple family residential R4 for the property located at 1515 West 178th Street. And lastly, resolution number 6412, acting upon a call for review and approving a tentative track map number 6-18 82390 and site plan review number 11-18, all relating to the property located at 1515 West 178th Street. We have a presentation today by Acting Community Development Director Berrigan.
Okay.
And good evening, Mayor Serta, members of the council. As City Manager Osorio mentioned, this is actually it's a quite a lengthy title. So from here on out, we're going to through the presentation we'll call it the Malia Townhome Project. It's located at 1515 West 178th Street. Just some info on the project setting. The project site is a little over 5.5 acres. It's currently used by an industrial trucking facility. And it's really nondescript. There really isn't a lot in terms of landscaping. There's one building that's about 105,000 square feet. It's relatively flat, the project site, and it's square in shape. And just to get our bearings on where we are in the city, the project site is highlighted in the color red. 178th Street runs east-west along the south side of the project site. Normandy runs north-south along the east side of the project site, and Western Avenue runs north-south along the western part of the project site. To the north is the Southern California Edison transmission power lines, and to the west is a residential community. To the east is our offices and industrial uses. To the south, more industrial uses, and also a mix of residential and businesses on residential properties as well. The current zoning of the project site is M2, or heavy industrial, and that's highlighted by the darker blue color. As you can see also, there's a slash line going across the project site, and that signifies a mixed-use overlay zone. To the east of the project site is further heavy industrial zoning. To the west is residential zoning, and to the south, light industrial in the lighter color blue. And the HB zone, which is a mix again of residential and businesses, and that's in the, I guess, the turquoise color. It should be noted that the current zoning allows for two scenarios. It allows for 100% industrial use, which is currently what occupies the site. However, an applicant could come forward with a project, with a mixed-use project. So what the applicant could propose would be live-work units as part of the commercial portion of the site, and also a mix of 100% residential uses. Those, the mixed-use overlay, as long as they have that mix of live-work units and 100% residential, that type of scenario is permitted by right. Furthermore, the current zoning for the mixed use, or the current density for the mixed use overlay zone, there's a minimum of 20 units per acre and a maximum of 30 units per acre. Before you tonight is the zone change to the R4 zone, or the high density multiple family zoning. That also has similar density, a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 30. So again, there could be a project that could come through as residential as part of the project, and that would be permitted by right. And the reason we're before you tonight is because the project or the applicant is proposing 100% residential without any kind of live-work units. So how do we get before you tonight? So the project did go before the Planning Commission last month, and at the Planning Commission hearing, the Planning Commission recommended that the City Council approve the general plan amendment, changing the land use designation from industrial with a mixed-use overlay to high-density residential. They also recommended that the City Council change the zoning, which currently is industrial, or M2, heavy industrial, with a mixed-use overlay, to high-density multiple-family residential, or R4. At the hearing, the Planning Commission approved the tentative tract map, which would subdivide the property into 114 condominium units, and they also approved the site plan, allowing for the 114 units. They also, as part of that, they approved the CEQA documents, or the environmental documents associated with all of these actions. So the project, the applicant proposes to demo the entire project site and build 114 townhomes over 22 condominium buildings. They range in square footage from 1,500 square feet to 1,800 square feet. And again, the resulting density is 20.36 units per acre. Again, that's the minimum amount in our code. Our code has a minimum of 20 units per acre in the R4 and in the mixed-use overlay zone. That's to meet our housing element goals, to provide for different types of housing and additional higher density housing. In addition to that, the project includes 294 parking spaces. That's each unit is required to have a 2-car garage. And there are also 67 guest parking spaces that are provided on site for guest parking. There's also private open space provided for each unit, and there's also common open space, and we'll go through the open space later on in this presentation. Some of the benefits of this project, as a condition of approval, the applicant is required to replace sewer pumps. There are some older sewer pumps that service not only this project site, but some other properties in the area. The sewer pumps are quite old, And so as a condition of approval, they have agreed to change the sewer pump so that we can get a more service life out of that infrastructure. In addition, the project site, there's a portion of the project site that is contaminated with some petroleum substances. As a byproduct of this project, that soil would be remediated to a level to allow for residential development. And so here's the landscape plan, but this gives a good idea of how the project site is laid out. 178th is running along the bottom half of the plan. It's a one way in, one way out access point for vehicular traffic. It's in the center of the project site. There's also a community pool in the center of the development. There's courtyards. The buildings face each other, so that there's opportunity for again community building. There are again, each unit has a 2-car garage. There's paseos. There's also active open space provided as well. At the Planning Commission, there were some concerns by the planning commissioners relative to the amount of parks that currently exist south of Artesia Boulevard. As part of the approval, they required that the applicant work with staff to change some of the passive open space, which is located on the north side of the project site. Initially, it was a linear passive space where one could take their toddler to learn how to walk, or if you're a little older in age, you can maybe just go ahead and again to walk in passive nature. They asked that we again create a little bit, not only maintain some of that, but also have some more active spaces. So the applicant went back to the drawing board, and they were able to reconfigure the guest parking, and they were able to go ahead and incorporate a little more additional square footage, and also be able to reprogram that to allow for the open space. So as you can see here in this diagram, there's some tot lots, and there's some areas for some play. There's also some congregation areas as well, but there is still a passive component to the open space. In addition to that, in reconfiguring the space, they were able to go ahead and provide additional guest parking. So they were able to add about 7 extra spaces above and beyond what was proposed initially. Here's some examples of the architectural style that's proposed. Again, there are 22 buildings, so the applicant is proposing to change the hue of some of the buildings to eliminate any monotony as you're walking throughout the site. So there will be different color palettes. Staff always looks, ensures that the building has a lot of visual interest on each side of the building, not just on the front. And staff feels that the applicant did a good job on creating aesthetic interest on all sides, including the garage side of the buildings. And here's a blow-up of the pool area. Again, this is the community pool that would be open to the residents. There's an outdoor kitchen area and restrooms, and again, this is for the enjoyment of the pool area by the residents. So again, we're setting the stage to be able to change the general plan and the zone change. We're setting the stage for this type of development. Without the zone change and the general plan amendments, this 100% residential development could not move forward. As part of the site plan review and as part of the record, the applicant either meets or exceeds the development standards for the R4 zone. And so we feel that, again, that the project is consistent with the general plan in meeting or exceeding the development standards. The Subdivision Map Act provides that if any findings can be made that would allow for a denial of the map, the map could be denied. And what we found was that the no findings could be made, therefore the map can be approved. In terms of the fees, the applicant is required to pay a in lieu fee for parkland dedication. They are required to pay the total amount of $979,884.35. In addition to that, there's a $1,000 per unit development impact fee for a total of $114,000. And the city enlisted Rita Garcia and Kimley Horn and her team to prepare the environmental document for this project. The document was available for public comment from August 15th through September 3rd. We did receive, as part of the review, it was demonstrated that there were environmental factors that were considered potentially significant. Those included biological resources, cultural resources, hazards and hazardous materials, and tribal cultural resources. Staff does feel that with the mitigation measures, they can be lessened to, or they can be reduced to a less than significant. We did receive some comments from the Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, County of Los Angeles Unified School District, and Los Angeles County Sanitation. They responded to the environmental document. Their letters are included in your packet for your review, and our responses to the agencies are also included in your packet for your review as well. As part of during the Planning Commission or after the Planning Commission meeting, we also did receive emails with concerns regarding the project from residents, and those are also included in your packet. There are also some letters of support that were submitted as part of that were received after your packets were prepared, and those you should have received via email. So some of the issues that were brought up in the correspondence were parking, emergency access, sewage, flood control, traffic, and general plan consistency. So as the operation right now stands, there isn't sufficient parking for the use for the Rodex site. It was observed during the analysis that there were about 70 people that were walking into the project site or into the trucking facility from the surrounding streets. So that goes to show that there is a parking issue right now with the current use. In addition to that, there are trucks that park in no parking zones. They're idling on the street as well, and they're also parking on the street. So there is a parking issue that exists. As part of the analysis, there was a traffic study that was done, and it was shown that there were no impacts as part of changing this project from industrial to residential. The traffic counts actually decreased overall, and to and from the project site. And although the trucks don't use the north-south residential streets, again, there were people that were observed parking in the neighborhoods and walking into Rodex. In terms of emergency access, there were the project was reviewed by Los Angeles County Fire Department. As part of their conditions, the applicant is required to provide various on-site public on-site hydrants so that they're able to fight fire from any point in the project site. They're also required to ensure that any hydrants on the street have the correct fire flow to fight fire from the street. They're also required to provide, the applicant was required to provide turning radius for fire apparatus. And so some of the concerns that came up was that how are people going to get out of the community if there's an emergency exit, if there's an emergency? And so again, it was vetted by the emergency personnel. There are emergency or fire gates as well as in addition to the main entrance, and there are also pedestrian access points, 2 pedestrian access points along the front of the project site. There were concerns about sewage, and we checked with our engineering department, and they don't have any recollection of any sewer issues. The one issue that they do have that is on their radar was the pumps, which would be changed as part of this project being approved. There were concerns about the flood control basin being or overflowing over the last few years or decades. Again, we checked with our engineering department, and there is no recollection of the Dominguez Channel ever overflowing. It should be noted that on the north side of the Dominguez Channel, we have the Artesia corridor specific plan, where we have the residential development that envelops Rascals and those other restaurants, and that area is located immediately adjacent to the Dominguez Channel, so we don't see any concerns with any kind of overflow. And again, in terms of traffic, as part of the analysis and as part of the concerns, we asked our consultants to go out and review and do a modeling of the trip distribution to and from the project. The concerns from the community that we heard were that although the trucks wouldn't use the streets, currently the trucks don't use the streets that run north-south to the south of the project site. They really use 178th Street. That if this changed to a residential development, that all the traffic from the residential development, or a lot of it, would now turn down those streets, the north-south streets, Evelyn and Denker. So our consultants prepared a modeling to see just what that distribution would look like. And let's see if we have that. First of all, they demonstrated that this project would generate about 620 daily trips, 41 AM trips, and 51 peak hour trips in the PM. Yes, they would use Denker and Evelyn primarily to maneuver through other points outside of Gardena. However, no significant traffic impacts on north and south local streets was really found as part of the analysis. The traffic distribution that was prepared after the concerns from the residents were voiced, it shows here that there would be potentially 2 trips southbound on Denker and 2 trips northbound on Denker. This would be the trips that would be how residents would use Denker. And there would be approximately 3 trips running south and 3 trips running north on Evelyn. So there would be some, again, there would be, our nature is to find the path of least resistance. So yes, there may be some traffic in there, but it wouldn't be as impactful as another type of project or an industrial project potentially. In terms of general plan consistency, staff feels that this project is consistent with the general plan. It does promote sound housing. There is a housing crisis in California that is the state's #1 priority. And we feel that we are able to go ahead and move towards meeting our goals, our regional housing goals. It's also located somewhat adjacent to shopping centers on Artesia Boulevard. And additionally, this project there was a similar project that was proposed in 2006. And that was denied by the Planning Commission and the City Council back during that time, and they found that it was inconsistent 13 years ago. What we found now is that the landscape has changed. First of all, since then, RoadX came into existence after that project was denied, and the issues that stem from RoadX have been a consistent issue for the neighbors that live adjacent to the project site, and the code enforcement record was included in your packet. Additionally, again, as stated before, the state's housing crisis is their #1 priority. This project would help us get, or at least it would help us achieve the above moderate housing numbers We're looking right now that the city would have to provide for 1,500 above moderate units for the next housing cycle. Additionally, already the mixed-use overlay zone allows for this type of development if they did a mixed-use, if they did a live-work unit kind of a project. So this type of density is already allowed by right. So the only difference here is that there are no live-work units. It's 100% residential. And again, as discussed before, Rodex, the conflict of uses between Rodex and the community to the west has been ongoing. There's been, again, as part of the record, we have our code enforcement cases. Noise, late night operations, odors and fumes, trucks idling and obstructing traffic, truck parking and no parking zone, trash flowing into the community to the west. And also vibration was another concern when the trucks drop the containers. There's significant vibration that occurs in that transfers over into the neighborhood. And with that, staff recommends that City Council open the public hearing, receive testimony from the public, close the public hearing, adopt resolution numbers 6405, 6406, 6412, and introduce ordinance number 1808. I'm available to answer any questions. We also have Rita Garcia with Kimley Horn and her team, and Lisa Kranitz, our Assistant City Attorney, to answer any questions you may have. And thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we're going to open the hearing. And before I open it up for council members' comments, I'm going to go to our speakers first because I'm sure they probably have questions in regards to theirs. So we're going to first begin tonight with Eva M. Matt. And then after that, we're going to go with Margie Holt. Go ahead. Can you hit that little button right there? There you go. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Mayor and council members, my name is Eva Mate. I live on Denker Avenue, just a few houses south from this project. And I have a concern about the traffic this project will cause for our community. I think that the 178th Street is much narrower than other streets. There is only one side they can park, the other side, where is the mobile home park, they cannot park on that side. And there is no middle line on the road, so when we go driving, the traffic against us, we have to kind of wave around and try to go beside each other, and the road is narrow for all these cars to come and go. And as I heard, they're going to take our street and they're going to come and go on Denker Avenue. I would like to, if this project will take place, I would like to recommend a few things to maybe improve this traffic. For example, if there would be a possibility to have stoplight, a red light, the traffic light on Western Avenue and 178th Street, so they can use the 178th Street to go in directions rather than going on Denker. Also, I would like to recommend to have a middle line marked on the road, so there will be more way they will keep on the right side of the road rather than going in the middle. And the third one is I would like to recommend a parking permit for those citizens who are living on the Denker Street or another nearest street. So there is a parking permit, or how they call that, permit?
Yes.
Then the other ones will not park on our street. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And our next speaker is Margie Hoyt.
Good evening, Mayor Serta and council members. My name is Margie Hoyt, and I am a resident at the Garden West Estates Mobile Home Park. My unit is right on the street of 178th and Denker. So I'm in the far back corner. I get everything from Rodex, and I get everything right on the street. So I've been there for 7 years now, and the noise and the fumes and the vibrations and the late night, early morning, everything that's going on, I am very happy if those guys can be made to leave. So my support for this project is all 100%. And I spoke at the Planning Commission meeting in support of this project, and we have had a big fight with Rodex for many years. Like I said, I've been there for 7 years, and it is, you have no idea how traumatic it is. Thank you very much. And I would very much like your support for this project, too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Terry Haas.
Good evening. I'm Terry Haas, and I'm here not just representing myself, but also 65 of my neighbors who have signed this petition opposing the Malia 178th Street Townhouse project. So I would like to give you this petition. Our main reasons for opposing the project are due to the increase in traffic congestion and parking problems. I reviewed the documents relating to the traffic study and cut-through traffic study and discussed them with my neighbors. We do not believe this project will result in less traffic congestion than is currently caused by the Rodex trucking firm. In fact, everyone who signed the petition stated that while they didn't like Rodex, they preferred it to 114 townhouses. So the main thing that we're saying is that most people work 8 to 5, which means a tremendous number of cars are going to be trying to leave or enter our neighborhood at one time. And drivers who get tired of waiting in long lines will instead use Evelyn, Dinker, or LaSalle to cut down to 182nd Street. And while the parking inside the complex is more generous than previous designs, we know that a lot of people are going to be packing their garages with stuff and not parking their cars in there, and also that there are usually more than 2 people living in each unit now because of adult children having to live with their parents, and everybody has cars. So this is a lot of additional cars that are going to be dumped on our neighborhood. Our streets are already full of parked cars, although each of our houses has a driveway and a garage. Most of the people in our neighborhood have more than 2 cars, plus we have businesses that require street parking. We simply do not have space for additional cars parked on our streets. We feel that this townhouse project will negatively impact our neighborhood with traffic, noise, and parking problems. Our neighborhood is relatively peaceful, and we would like to keep it that way. Although Rodex is an annoyance with their trucks blocking 178th Street, their trucks don't park on our streets or cut through on our streets. And I do understand the concerns of the mobile home park caused by Rodex. However, they're walled off from the project and will not suffer from traffic and parking issues like we will. We agree with the decisions by earlier city councils that voted down high-density housing projects on 178th Street as incompatible with our neighborhood. We respectfully request that this city council vote against the Malia 178th Street Townhouse project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Maria Horton.
Good evening, Mayor Serta. Good evening, Pro Tem Mayor Art Kaskanian and good evening, council members. You may remember me from the rent mediation issue we had several years ago. I represent Garden West Estates. I represent the ownership and the management of Garden West Estates, which is the mobile home park, which is directly next to Rodex, the trucking company. Through the years, since 2014, we have reported so many complaints to the City of Gardena Police Department, to the building development, everyone, code enforcement, everyone in the City of Gardena has heard our complaints. And we were so hopeful when we thought that the last company was going to come through. There was another project prior to this that we were so hopeful that this would help our residents, because it has been such a nuisance to our residents to have a company that literally backs their trucks into a very short wall that you know, that kind of is the lines are it's our line between the two properties, and this wall has been hit by the trucks, and they have done nothing about it. We have gone to Rodex. There are so many problems that we have had with Rodex, and they have just ignored us, and we have complained to everyone at the city, including the police department and the city, code compliance. Everyone has heard our complaints. Raymond Bedagon was tired of hearing from us for many years, all the many complaints, I'm sure. And our residents are really tired and have been affected so much by sleepless nights because of the beeps from the trucks backing up at 3 o'clock in the morning, the many piles of newspapers that they had put in their yard and just piled them up to the sky, and just so much noise, pollution, and you know, I can't even tell you the diesel fumes that have affected our poor 55 and older residents that live in this community. And we have one of the nicest communities in Gardena for 55 and older residents. I don't know, some of you have visited us at Garden West Estates and have attended, and we have a great community that has a fitness center, that has, you know, so many social organizations that they come together to do so much, and for the community as well. We have at Christmas time, the school children come to sing to the seniors. I mean, there are so many things that we do as well for our community. And, you know, we just want you to please consider approving this project. We have worked with Malia Homes, and they've talked to our residents about the project, and we are so pleased to see a wonderful community that we hope that you will approve and place next to us as neighbors, because what we've had has been a horror for the past many years. We've been there we've managed the property since 2011, and in 2014 we started the complaints with the city, and it's just been, you know, a long time coming, waiting for something to be done. Please, we ask you, we have several residents here, seniors that came to listen and to support this issue, and you know, they are really hopeful that you will consider their pleas and approve this project for them and for the city of Gardena to add additional housing. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we're going to open it up to council questions, and I think you had a question first? Okay, go ahead, Councilman Medina.
Yeah, I actually have three questions. The first one is, we have had an EIR report, correct?
I'm sorry, hold on 1 second.
I'm sorry, pardon me. The applicant would like to discuss the project, if that's possible.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Let's let the applicant come forward, please. And sir, if you could just state your name prior to speaking.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Serta, members of the council. My name is Chad Brown. I'm Vice President with Malia Homes. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to present this project to you tonight. I don't want to be very repetitive on what Raymond has mentioned and what he's brought forward. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that's been loaded up, and I will be able to skip through several of them because Raymond has done such a wonderful job in presenting this project with some of the details, and I don't want to be repetitive. So I may skip through some of those. Thank you. But I do first want to thank your staff. They have been very hardworking, very thorough, and very diligent in the review of this application through and through from the time we prior to our submitting of the application in December 2018 through the entire process now. They have been nothing but professional and very communicative, and that's always appreciated as a developer coming into a city to understand what the rules are, and we want to abide by those rules, and that's what we are doing. So we are actually calling this project 178, so I'm just not trying to be repetitive with it, but because of its location on 178th Street. Malia Homes is a private home builder, and we are building homes in LA County, in Orange County, in San Diego County, in the Inland Empire, in several different locations, many different types, single-family detached, luxury homes, single-family detached on half acres, and we have many multifamily projects such as this one in process or in entitlement currently. You've seen this overview before. This is simply trying to provide to you the information that the property that we're looking for is already zoned for residential uses. We are proposing a residential community of 20 units to the acre. Potentially the mixed-use overlay could come forward with a 30 units to the acre project. I don't want to be repetitive on that, but we think that the location that we have designed a high-quality residential project for sale new housing within the city. This is your staff report on page 8 has a similar picture to something along this that I think was dated September 30th. This was dated sometime after that. The semi-trucks and so forth parked on the street. There is a number of parking. There are many driveway openings that would be eliminated on 178th Street with the implementation of the project that would then open up additional curb space along 178th. The image to the right of that is the proposed street frontage, giving a little bit of the architectural perspective with the landscaping along the frontage. This is a perspective of the entry, which would have uplighting accents to accentuate the entry itself from both from a safety standpoint as well as vehicular safety, so that the entry is well lit. It's a gated community. The gate itself is set well back off of 178 so that it's not protruding out towards the street. And this is, Raymond put this up well, but this is the architecture itself. A lot of articulation, variation, and the color blocking that will provide a lot of variation as throughout the community as to what that would want to look like. With the landscape design, we want it to be a very cohesive landscape palette throughout that has an awful lot of walkability throughout the internal paseos in the community. And all those paseos do lead to the central pool and swimming pool area that would not only have the pool, but there's a recreation area around the deck that would provide shaded areas for an outdoor barbecue counter, a lounge seating area, as well as the deck and swimming pool itself. Now that deck and swimming pool have to be fenced off for safety purposes for children. So that was one of the concerns that was brought up at the Planning Commission hearing. So from that standpoint of not having enough active, so to speak, recreational area is where was the origination for the remodeling or reprogramming of that open space. And we took that towards the northern end of the project to provide a tot lot, some picnic tables, a large linear open turf play area, while still maintaining the walking path and the connectivity throughout the entire community all as one. Again, just simple illustrations with the tot lot structure and various opportunities that would exist along the back, not to mention the swimming pool and so forth that was shown at the center of it. Again, you've seen this one. We were able to make this change as a result of the Planning Commission concerns and what was brought up without changing anything on the interior of the balance of the project. We simply reprogrammed that north area, reoriented the parking from parallel parking to perpendicular parking, added 7 parking spaces in doing so. So we were actually 9 above the minimum code requirement of the Gardena Municipal Code for parking in this area, and left the circulation, the setting, the layout, the design otherwise untouched. So we do think it's actually a benefit. It it added some additional cost to it, but we're willing to put that forward. Something that Mr. Maragon touched on with regards to the hazardous and cleanup. This illustrates the area that is currently contaminated and has been contaminated since Global Illuminations was at this site, probably prior to 1995 or so. It is a solvent and type of a hydrocarbon type of contamination that's in the back. They found it to be about 8 or 9 feet deep, with a slot with about 20 feet of width and about 200 feet in length along the back or the northerly edge. Nobody's done anything about that in the last 30 years. With the implementation of this project, we would remove that contaminated soil, as well as there would be oversight by the LA County Fire Department, as we would be grading the balance of the site that would be looking for any additional contamination and so forth that would come up. And since there's an active RAP or remedial action plan, that LA County Fire oversight would be monitoring the rest of the site and make sure that if there's anything additional that would be uncovered during the grading of this project, that it would be removed and satisfied as well. Talk a moment about the immediate neighboring residents. One of the things that we've heard from very early on was the disruption, the nuisance, the dissatisfaction that many of the residents in the area have with the Rodex business. We engaged with the residents in January 8th, 2019, very early in this year. We held a meeting with the immediate adjacent property owners. They attended. The overwhelming question that we heard from them, we presented our plans very similar to what are before you tonight, minor tweaks, modifications from a technical standpoint. Again, I want to emphasize it was immediate adjacent owners, because we reach out to them first because they have the most, I guess, dramatic impact, or the most, the most at risk for a new project coming in. Oftentimes, their concerns, I have found through my 20 years of working in planning and development, the immediate residents that are immediately adjacent to us are oftentimes overrun by a group that may be further out, that don't have the immediate impacts, but have the perceived impacts of what we're hearing a little bit tonight. I'm not trying to be controversial about it, but from the standpoint of us wanting to hear the concerns of the immediate neighbors, we reached out to them directly and had a meeting with them, heard their questions, heard their concerns, and primarily the overwhelming question at the end of our presentation was, how soon can this happen? And I think you're hearing that a little bit tonight from what Maria Horton brought forward, what Margie mentioned, as well as I believe there's 15 or 16 letters that have been signed by many of those property owners in the Garden West, residents within the Garden West Estates that are in support of the project. So in closing, Malia Homes appreciates the diligence that the city has taken with this project, and that you follow your professional staff's recommendation, and that we ask for your approval tonight. We are actively searching for other opportunities within the city of Gardena, but we need to start with this one first, and I again ask for your approval. From an applicant standpoint, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I appreciate any responses and so forth that I have received from you in trying to reach out. And again, thank you.
Okay, thank you. If we have any questions for you, don't go far. We'll probably come back to you. Let me open it up to Councilmember Medina. And Becky, if you don't mind, can we just see the petition? If you could just pass it to Councilmember Tanaka, and maybe we can pass it down as each person can go through it. Councilmember?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Like I started to say earlier, was there, when you made this report, Mr. Bergan, was that part of the EIR, or have you had an EIR yet?
The initial study resulted in a mitigating negative declaration. It did not move into EIR status.
So it is, you've had your EIR, your environmental impact report.
The environmental document was
Okay.
was
And question number 2 is, has the fire marshal approved the ingress and ingress of the complex itself? Because we had some units a while back where the fire department couldn't go in and turn around and come back out again. And the project went through and it wasn't approved by the fire marshal. So I'm asking is, has this been approved by the fire marshal?
The fire department did review the project, and they will not release, they put a hold on the project until they are satisfied. So we cannot move forward. We cannot be here tonight until fire department has cleared it completely.
answer
And
is
they
no.
have, yes. They have cleared it.
Okay. Last issue is, it seems like you only have one way out, and the young lady that made a suggestion earlier, I highly recommend for the owners of the project and also our city staff as well to put a light on 178th and Western, because I personally have driven there and I almost got into some accidents, and this is in midday. And I think that if on the onset of having 114 families coming into that neighborhood, I really, really, truly believe that having a light on the corner of 178th and Western would release a lot of tension, a lot of pressure, and you probably would have less traffic going through Denker and Evelyn for that very same reason. So if you could make that small investment, that I think a lot of people will be satisfied with the fact that these units are coming up.
And that is something that could be proposed to the applicant. However, before that, the traffic analysis, the results of the traffic analysis demonstrated that a traffic light was not needed at that intersection. We understand your concerns. The traffic consultant is here, and Rita Garcia from Kimley Horn is here to discuss their methodology and their review, if that, just to have a better understanding of why that wasn't part of the project.
Well, there's just a suggestion. I think it would relieve a lot of pressure to the homeowners all along Denker and the other streets, because they'll see that the people will have another access to get to Western and or 182nd.
Councilmember, would you like to hear from the traffic consultant, because we do have
I
finished
would.
decision
Yes, please.
today? I think it's
Yes.
better that we hear from her, because
Yes, absolutely.
maybe that'll answer some questions there.
Oh,
And
him.
sir, if you could, I'm sorry, if you could just state your name first before speaking.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Shri Chakravarti. I'm with Kimley Horn. I'm working with Rita Garcia. We prepared the traffic portion of the project. The most recent version was when we prepared the cut-through analysis, cut-through traffic analysis. So we prepared two documents. One was the trip generation memorandum, which indicated that the proposed project will have fewer trips than what's existing, what RoadX project would have. And the second document was the cut-through analysis, which indicated that there will not be, the number of trips going through Denker or Evelyn will be very few, insignificant, but most traffic will be using 178 to go either east or west to Western, east to Raymond, but using 178th Street. So because this proposed project will have fewer trips than the current existing site, there will be a net negative negative trips, like reduction in the amount of traffic that you will be seeing at 178th and Western. Currently, it's a stop sign. It's not. I'm not aware if a signal warrant is needed, but with the new project, it will be fewer trips than what's existing now. That's really what it is.
Okay, thank you, but my common sense tells me if you have 114 families in one centralized area, having that light would really relieve a lot of traffic along Denker and Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say you have less traffic, I can't understand how that logic falls into place when you have 114 new residents.
Correct. So the analysis, the way it's done is we look at what the existing traffic levels are for the current site, and when we when we went out and counted the number of trips that this project is going to generate, it was 63 trips in the AM peak and 64 trips in the PM peak that the RoadX site is generating currently. And then when the new project comes in, the 114 townhomes, based on established industry standards, The new project will generate 41 AM trips and 51 PM trips. So it's less than what the existing site generates. And that's the reason why we see a net reduction in the traffic. And these are based on, one, for the existing site, these are based on actual traffic counts that we collected. We went out there physically, observed the conditions, got the data, and presented that information. For the proposed project, the number of trips, it's based on a methodology that's established by traffic engineering standards. It's called the Institute of Transportation Engineers. And based on that data available, it shows that the proposed project will only generate 41 AM peak trips and 51 PM peak trips. So when you compare that with what's existing there, it shows a net reduction.
Okay. I don't necessarily agree, but okay. Yeah.
Hold on, Councilman, were you finished?
I'm done.
Okay, Councilman Tanaka, and then I'll go this
All
way.
right. So I understand what Councilman Medina is trying to say. And I'm not a traffic engineer by any point, but I was a policeman that worked traffic. And 178th is a pretty wide street. Now, I know what he's talking about. If you go to Western and 178th between the hours of, say, 3:30 and 6 o'clock, Western Avenue is packed going north and west, or north and south. Okay, that's just between that time. The rest of the time is not a problem. There isn't that much traffic. So I think what he's trying to say is during that peak hour, you're going to see people maybe cutting through the residentials because they don't want to wait to make a left turn, they don't want to wait for the traffic, they get impatient, and that may cause them to do that. But here's the other point that I know that you're trying to say is that it's going to be less traffic because, one, Rodex has employees that come at a certain time and they bombard the facility and they drive through there and then they all leave at the same time. It's going to be less at the residential because not everybody leaves at the same time. So there's going to be less traffic according to what the study says, and I agree with that. It's going to be less. But I just think he's concerned about 178 and Western when traffic is pretty heavy because everybody's trying to get to Artesia, they're all trying to get to the freeway, and that kind of an issue. But I don't see a big problem other than just maybe that during that time.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah.
Does that help?
So just also to clarify, to install a traffic signal, a signal warrant needs to be completed, so that needs to be completed before.
And the point with the traffic signal, that's not all of us. So Torrance would actually have to buy into that, and there'd have to be a huge traffic study. 178 does not go all the way across into Torrance, so that would be kind of a dead signal, and it would only actually support during that traffic hour. Otherwise, it's a ridiculous kind of.
Okay, next is Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian, and then Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify about the traffic, I mean, they can do it right now if they want it, right? I mean, to make that right turn and to avoid the traffic on Western Avenue.
No, left turn, going south.
Yeah, they can do it now. I mean, they don't have to wait for the residential unit to come and, then suddenly everybody decides to, Anyway, I don't want to, I'm not a traffic engineer, so I have no idea. Mr. Barragan, great presentation, great project, but I have a few concerns. I need explanation, and one of them is the builder mentioned that possibly 30 units per acre, right?
The project is proposed at 20 units an acre.
Right now, 20 units, and he mentioned 30 units possibly?
The possibility to build 30 units an acre is there currently as the mixed use, under the mixed use overlay. Under the R4 standards, a project could go up to 30 units an acre.
But right now, we're approving 20 units.
20.36, correct.
Yes, okay. How about the swimming pool? I mean, let's say residents are at home, 95 degree like today, they decide to go to the pool. is it going to be enough room, for example, for everybody to use the pool? Plus, the recreation, room or the play area, all this, if it goes up to 20, 30 units, is it going to be condensed or no? We're only voting for 20 right now, right?
20 units an acre, right, 114 units total.
Okay. And as far as the parking, because it's a big concern about the parking, outside parking areas that they proposed, is it going to be on the streets or is it going to be inside the complex?
All the guest parking is located inside the complex, and it's distributed throughout the project site.
I see.
Excuse me, can we see on the map? I'd just like to point it out just so that there's clarification. If we can go to the page. No, go ahead. That one there. Can you point out the portions where the guest parking is? Or is it in the middle, around the edge, or?
Get the revised one. The revised one.
Well, can you just tell us, is it around the edge? Is it in the middle, or?
It's on the top, it's on the northern portion. You'll see that right now they're...
Number 25, 5, 21, is that where the parkings are?
Number 25 and 5, correct.
Yes.
But they're going to be turned, because of the reprogramming,
Mhm.
they're going to be turned and they're going to be perpendicular to the property line to the north.
That's all the guest parking there.
There's parking there. There's also parking by the pool. You'll see some ADA accessible parking stalls to the north of the pool. There's parking towards the front near the units, in front of the units between the building and the sidewalk. And there's also parking where number 14 and 18 are here, number 18 over here, number 14 up on top. So again, it's all distributed along throughout the project site.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. And it's going to be an HOA in there, obviously, right? Or a manager on site to manage the property or no?
Correct. HOA is required. CCNRs would govern the development.
Okay. My point is about if there's going to be anybody managing. How about, it was mentioned earlier, if one unit has 4 vehicles and they park in their parking stall and they use the guest parking with the other vehicles, I mean, is that going to be creating any problems with the neighbors that they have no parking, or is it going to be a violation maybe, whoever parks in the guest parking?
Right, like previous projects, the CCNRs would govern parking, and so the parking is allowed for guest use only. So they would have this, again, the CCNRs would govern how that parking is allotted for each resident. There would be parking passes, I'm assuming, or how that it's structured. It would be structured through the CCNRs.
I see. Okay.
Oh, additionally, the CCNRs also, there's a condition of approval. The CCNRs would require that the garage space cannot be converted, cannot be used for storage. It has to be used for parking. Currently, in any other part of the city or any other, without CCNRs, that isn't necessarily the case. So they could go ahead and enforce that as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Bergon, thank you for the presentation and everything. I have a question in regards to, have we also done the study of creating those parking districts for LaSalle, Dinker, and Raymond for the residents there? And what is the probability of us putting speed bumps on the north and southbound of LaSalle, Raymond, and everything to kind of deter folks from shooting through that neighborhood?
Right. So no, a study has not, in terms of parking restrictions or parking enforcement, we have not looked at that. That came up today at the, as one of the speakers mentioned. In terms of speed bumps, that would be a question that we would defer to our Public Works Department and also our Police Department. I know that in previous projects, the Police Department doesn't, and I can't speak for them, but they didn't necessarily like speed bumps. But again, that's something that we could look into if you desire.
I would look into it just so we can get validation whether those are desired by public safety or not. But also, I think we should seriously consider creating a parking district down over there. Although 178 is a pretty wide street and everything, if there's a big Super Bowl party and all 114 resident families have a party, if they park on 178, it should support them versus spilling over into the neighborhood.
Very well. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I have a couple of them. First question, when it was mentioned just a second ago about using the garage as storage, can any of these homes, the garage, be turned into ADUs for any reason?
No.
No, so there's no chance that okay, perfect. That's good to hear. Rodix, if I'm not mistaken, that's the company that I think all the council members, and I think, Dan, you probably remember this better than I do, that we got a letter every month about the problems that were going on and so on. That's the same company, Rodix, correct? Okay, the other question is, their trucks that are at Rodix, those are what, 18-wheelers? Are they tiny trucks? They're pretty large trucks, aren't they?
They are.
And I'm just kind of curious, I know this is a little bit off from Malia, but are we repaving the streets more often because of those trucks there? Do you know that?
That I'm aware of, on 178th, that I'm aware of, no. Again, that would be a question for Public Works, whether or not there was an increase in rehab of the streets. But to my knowledge, I'm not.
Okay, I'm just, if you know this, I don't know. If you don't, then of course you can't answer it. But I'm just curious, because I know a lot of times with our trash trucks, as they're passing through, sometimes we're repaving those streets more often.
Vehicular weight is a factor in repair of the roadway. I can't say specifically on 178th whether or not that condition was aggravated by the 18-wheelers, but yes, vehicle weight is a factor.
It is a factor? Okay, thank you. And there's just a couple of questions I have for the applicant here. Can you tell me the square footage of some of these properties here? I understand some are 2, 3, and 4 4-unit properties, but what's the square footage on some of these, and what's going to be the asking price of this?
Yes,
Curious.
there's a mix. There's 4 different floor plans, and they range anywhere between 1,500 to 1,890 square feet in area. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and there is 1 4-bedroom units that is one of the plan types.
Okay.
And the asking price coming out would be between $550,000 to $625,000 is what we expect. These are market rate units, so the market could drop, and we, in order to move them, we may be taking a bath. I don't know. This is real estate development is a huge gamble and risk, as I think you guys know, because you make a lot of decisions.
Okay. I appreciate the fact that you did have those community meetings, because that's always first and foremost with me, reaching out to the, the neighbors that are going to be surrounding through there. And I applaud the fact that the recommendations that the Planning Commission gave as far as, the additional open space for the residents, for kids, et cetera. But my concern also is, as far as, it was addressed earlier about safety. I noticed the main way you come through there, through the middle. Is there, to the left, am I looking at a fire safety area? Is that area always open, or is that to the far left here?
Correct.
Is that like a fire safety exit there?
It is what they call an EVA, it's emergency vehicular access.
Okay.
That if necessary, that could be opened up to as a secondary point of ingress and egress, both for fire or for evacuation.
Okay.
But it would be remain shut in all normal conditions, correct.
Okay. The other question I had was, I noticed you mentioned that the curves are applicable, fire trucks had to pull around, turn those corners. Fire hydrants. Yes. For 114 units, 1, 2, 3 fire hydrants.
There's 5 on-site hydrants, and there's 2 out front.
5 outside and 2 out front.
5 out.
Oh, I'm sorry, inside.
5 inside hydrants and 2 out front on 178th, on both sides of the street, one on each side of the street. Existing today that would be rehabbed and left in place.
Okay.
And by the way, Mayor Serta, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the fire hydrant locations, placement, and numbers are all determined by LA County Fire as they go through the review process. And for clarification, Councilmember Medina, the LA County Fire would not allow this project to be being heard tonight had they not cleared this project to be here. So yes, they have reviewed it, and yes, they have approved it.
I'm sorry, it threw me off a little bit here. Sorry. Give me a second. Let me just refer to my notes here. Lighting. In some of the renderings prior to projects like this here, I'm just curious, there's a lot of area, looks like walking space, green area space. Tell me something a little bit about the lighting. Is there any upward lighting there? Is it just regular lighting, or?
So, yes, there is. Mayor Serta, throughout the project, there will be your typical parking lot type lighting
Okay.
that your municipal code requires that it be lit up like a like a vehicle sales lot
Okay.
at 2-foot candle average. So that is for the road traffic areas, parking areas, and so forth.
Okay.
Also, throughout the paseos, throughout the entire project in the paseos, there would be low-level pedestrian bollards that would illuminate the walkways themselves. And in addition, along 178th Street, particularly at the entry, there would be uplighting accentuating the landscape trees as well as the wall fence combination that is being placed. Along those same lines, as a part of that, the fence and/or wall that we are proposing that is designed into this project is not at back of sidewalk. It is back from the sidewalk, so there would be an improved landscape parkway behind the sidewalk before the wall. And it's not a solid wall. It would be broken with portions of a solid wall, and then there would be a stretch of open tubular steel fencing that would allow the aesthetics and the visibility exchange in and out of the site. And also along those areas where those two paseos come out towards 178th near the front, those are where the pedestrian gates that Mr. Barragon mentioned for the pedestrian access to allow the residents to come out and walk along 178 sidewalks and so forth, and hopefully not disturb the community to the south.
Okay. Now, in the community meetings, were there any questions raised as far as the height of the fence where you are up against the mobile home units there?
We've heard from a few of the residents in the mobile homes that they would like to have a high fence. I think your municipal code allows a maximum of 6-foot high fence between residential to residential, and that's what we were proposing. It would be a 6-foot high block wall along the easterly edge where we are adjacent to the office and industrial side. Your municipal code requires an 8-foot wall there. And so again, I reemphasize that our project is in compliance with your code requirements and your design standards.
Okay. I think that's all the questions that I have for you right now. And this is a question for the city manager.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the questions that came up was about the striping down the middle of the street, like a yellow stripe dividing one side to the other. On smaller streets like this, is that customary for us to put a yellow stripe through there, or is that only on the larger arterial streets, or?
I'm not aware of that, Mayor, but we'll
is that something we can look into afterwards?
Yes.
Because I don't necessarily think that it should be required of Malia, but that's still our streets, sir?
If I may, with concurrence from the city engineer,
Okay.
we would be happy to provide for a centerline stripe or the typical double yellow striping or whatever would be required through the engineering design for the stretch down to Western Avenue along 178th.
Oh, if you want to pay for it, okay.
The signal at that intersection is something different.
Well, that's something different.
Yes.
No, I was going to get to that in a second. I don't know if this is required, but this is something I think that we could look at.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I believe that there has to be a requirement of the width of the street.
Okay, maybe that's where I'm getting at.
So
Okay.
depending on the width of the street, the striping is required. And if I may, want to add to Councilman Henderson's question regarding the speed bumps. I believe the requirement, if a speed bump is desired in a specific area, let's say a residential area, the surrounding houses or residential owners of that affected
have to put a petition together.
Have to put a petition for a speed bump.
And and thank you for that. And I really think that's something afterwards that would be looked into, because I participated in some of those before with neighborhoods that want to put in the parking districts and or speed bumps. I just want to add, and I don't know that they're all that beneficial, but you do have to get through, I think it's 3/4 of the number of people in the surrounding area, and it has to still go through our traffic committee. So I believe that that's something completely separate from this here, but it is noted. So we did hear those concerns that you guys are stating here. But overall, I really believe that this is a good project here. It's a much better use than what was there before with the other company, Rodex. 18-wheeler trucks going down the street, vibrating the street. I just don't see that being a good use for that area there. It has been going on there for several years, but This development here is a good project. Again, I applaud the applicant for just working with the community in the community meetings, because as I said before, that is very important. But overall, I mean, it's really good and it meets all the standards that I believe that we're looking for. So I would definitely be in support of this project. And as we move forward in the future, for those who oppose the project, I mean, if you still have concerns, because, this city council, we're always here to hear your concerns. And if there's problems with, cars going down different streets and it's over in excess, I believe it's something that you can come back to this council and we can work with our police department, our traffic, and we can look at possibly some options there. As in regards to a signal light, like Councilmember Tanaka had mentioned, that's a whole different animal right there. And I don't think that would be what's needed right now for this particular area. But again, if it's something that's of concern later on, please feel free to come back to us with that, because that's why we're here, to make sure things are done to the best of the ability. Ms. Kranitz, did you want to say something?
I was going to say we could add public work condition number 16 if you make an approval for this, and it would read, applicant shall stripe 178th Street between Western and Normandy Avenues if approved by the Public Works Department.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Lisa. Item number 16, you
It
said?
would be PW 16.
PW 16. Okay, thank you. Councilmember?
While we're on this striping thing, I paid attention and I heard the applicant say that they're going to eliminate, how many driveways from Rodex? How many driveways are you eliminating?
There's currently 3 driveways.
Okay, so that adds additional parking on the street. Now, on 178th on the north side, there's no parking. And that's because, I think that was probably because part of the industrial section there and the trucks going back and forth. So if we did the traffic study, if they looked at that to see if they could open that up for parking all along 178th from Rodex all the way down to Western, that would add a huge amount of parking. Okay. Then the striping thing, if you look at 161st Street right here off of Normandy, that street is striped, and that's not a very big street. 178th is pretty wide. It could be striped without a problem. And I totally agree that, parking district, speed bumps and all that stuff, let's wait and see. Let's see what happens. They can always come back and talk about those things.
Okay, I'm sorry, you jogged my memory again. So just from my understanding, on 178th Street, currently right now, there's no parking on the north side of the street. The south side doesn't have it. South side doesn't have parking, but the north side does. Only on one side of the street. Okay. Okay, hold on a second, everybody. Lisa?
Madam Mayor, council members, I believe where the mobile home park is, there is no parking on the north side, but there is on the south side. But for the rest of 178th Street, there's parking on both sides, as you saw by the photographs that were part of the record that had the trucks on both sides.
Okay, thank you for the clarification of that. Okay, question, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before we call for the vote, Mr. City Manager, in regards to the parking districts and everything, speed bumps, I know that's a later discussion, but in regards to the parking districts, could we be proactive and come back with that as soon as these things start to happen so we can kind of get in front of it? So if we can kind of figure out what that's going to mean for that area?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? If not, right now I'm going to close the hearing for the public hearing. And we have a couple of resolutions here. Can I take up all 3 resolutions at one time? Yes? Okay. And the introduction is going to be, of course, separate. Okay, so at this time, is there a motion to adopt resolution number 6405, 6406, and 6412 with the condition of adding an amendment to PW 16, and that's regarding the Public Works, the striping area? Can I get a motion to adopt this?
So moved.
Is there a second? Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next we need an introduction of ordinance number 1808. Will somebody introduce it at this time?
So moved.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, for the record, Councilmember Tanaka introduced ordinance number 1808. Okay, the project has been approved. Thank you guys for coming out and sharing your concerns in regards to this project. And as I mentioned, moving forward, if you're seeing that traffic is, going to be an issue, as we move forward, bring that to our attention. And like I said, we can, work with our police department, Public Works, and, our traffic committee and see what we can do to help work with that. Okay? Yes.
Quick question to Mr. Barragan. Can you tell the builder that we have a lumber company in the city?
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on to item number 8C1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, we're doing an 8B3.
Oh, my apology, 8B3. Okay.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, Agenda Item 8B3 is ordinance number 1810, amending Chapter 8.64 of the Gardena Municipal Code relating to maintenance of vacant lots and buildings. Staff recommends that the City Council introduce ordinance number 1810, amending Chapters 8.64 of the Gardena Municipal Code relating to the maintenance of vacant lots and buildings. Vacant lots and buildings can lead to neighborhood decline and takes away from the aesthetics of the community and residents' quality of life because they can attract vagrants and/or harbor wild animals, pests, and rodents. In 2018, the City Council adopted by reference the International Property Maintenance Code, or IPMC, and Uniform Building Security Code, but adding this ordinance greatly increases our enforcement efforts. So what's required under this new ordinance? Property should be free of weeds, dry brush, dead vegetation, trash, junk, debris, building materials, et cetera, should be free of graffiti, tagging, or similar markings. Visible front and side yards shall be landscaped and maintained to the neighborhood standards. Pools and spas shall be kept in working order. Existing landscaping shall be regularly maintained. Vacant buildings shall not be left open or unlocked or otherwise unsecured from intrusion by persons, animals, or the elements. What's required is to introduce ordinance number 1810.
Okay, does any member of the council have any questions or comments? I do. So question I have for this, sorry, I know it's late. So tell me, this just gives us more teeth than what we had before? I mean, in the past, we've written up some of these places, but I know we're talking now vacant lots, we're going to be able more than normal, or, because there's some properties, like I noticed, the weeds are overgrown, and we give them a code violation, and...
So, Mayor Sir, what this does is actually, first of all, it identifies and defines what vacant lots or empty lots are.
Okay.
Also, it references in the bail schedule, Section 3, which gives a hefty fine and a misdemeanor for not complying with the ordinance.
Okay, got it. Okay, any other questions? No? If not, can I get a motion to, to introduce the ordinance?
I'll introduce the ordinance.
Okay. Okay. Madam City Clerk, ordinance number 1810 was introduced by Councilmember Henderson. Okay, next up is item number 8C1, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, Sir, the members of the City Council, agenda item 8C1 is resolution number 6413, supporting the Reducing Crime and Keeping California Safe Act of 2020. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt resolution 6413, which supports and endorses the Reducing Crime and Keeping California Safe Act of 2020, which will appear in the November 2020 ballot. This ballot measure has received a strong endorsement from the Los Angeles County Chiefs Association. It is designed to fix specific flaws that have been legislated via Assembly Bill 109, Prop 47, and Prop 57. The flaws include recent changes to parole laws that allow for reduced penalties and early release of dangerous criminals by the law's failure to define certain crimes as violent. This allows for nonviolent offenders to be back on the streets sooner, which puts residents, workers, visitors, and law enforcement throughout California at greater risk. Fortunately, Keep California Safe initiative will help to fix this problem as well as address our state's serial theft problem. What's required is adopt resolution number 6413.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6413?
So moved.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call for the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes, next up is item number 8D1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 8D1 is award purchase order for a prefabricated modular restroom structure to Structure Cast in the amount of $199,300 for the Rowley Park Baseball Diamond restroom rehab, job number 968, and approval of $230,000 in budget appropriation to complete the project. Staff solicited 4 vendors, but only 2 vendors, Structure Cast Company and Public Restroom Company, submitted proposals. Under the Uniform Public Constitution Cost Accounting Act, which is public works projects under $200,000. Staff recommends a purchase order to Structure Cast for 2 primary reasons. First, the lead time of design and fabrication proposed by Structure Cast will take 75 days compared to the 180 days proposed by Public Restroom Company. Second, the proposed layout by Public Restroom Company, which is 28 feet by 12 feet, deviates significantly from the city's request of 20 feet by 20 feet. The new structure will replace this existing 61-year-old building and comply with all building codes. Staff recommends the City Council authorize a PO to Structure Cast in the amount of $199,300, including sales tax and freight, for the prefabricated modular restroom structure. The structure will meet gender-neutral compliances with 4 single-occupant ADA anti-graffiti coating, vandal-resistant fixtures, which are stainless steel materials, electrical janitorial room, 2 outside lavatories with soap dispenser and air dryer, and meet all California building code compliances. Staff also recommends that the City Council approve budget appropriation of $230,000 from the Park and Loop Fund balance for the Rowley Park Baseball Diamond Restroom Rehab Project, job number 968, to complete the purchase of $199,300 plus a 15% contingency cost. What's required is authorized purchase order and approved budget appropriation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Medina?
Yes, Mr. City Manager, is this the building that's out to the south portion of Raleigh Park, right? Diamond number 2? Diamond number 1?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to award the purchase order?
So moved.
Is there a second? Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes, 61-year-old building, yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 8D2. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 8D2 is award construction contracts for Rowley Park Auditorium HVAC system and roofing reconstruction, job number 980, totaling $124,223.71 to Honeywell International Incorporated and Midwest Roofing Company, and approval of $143,000 budget appropriation to complete the project. 4 informal bids for the HVAC system reconstruction and 3 informal bids for the roofing reconstruction were solicited without an advertisement for the state informal procurement method under the Cost Accounting Act, which is public works projects under $200,000. Honeywell International Incorporated and Midwest Roofing companies submitted the lowest responsible bids in each of the category. Honeywell International, Inc. is a worldwide conglomerate company that produces commercial consumer products and engineering services. The company currently has a maintenance contract with the city, thus is vastly familiar with all existing HVAC systems. Midwest Roofing Company is a state-licensed roofing metal product and recently acquired HVAC contractor specializing in roofing and solar and is based in Gardena. This company has also successfully completed city projects in the past. Staff recommends that the City Council award construction contracts for the Raleigh Park Auditorium HVAC system to Honeywell International, Inc. for $61,424.71, and the roofing reconstruction to Midwest Roofing Company for the amount of $62,799 in the aggregate amount of $124,233.71. It is recommended to approve the budget appropriation of $143,000 from Park and Loop funds for the Raleigh Park Auditorium HVAC system and roofing reconstruction to complete the project of $124,223.71 plus a 15% contingency cost. What's required is award construction contracts and approve budget appropriation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, in your experience, in regards to some of the firms not responding, is it because they're either seeing the notification too late or they can't meet the insurance requirements? I know we don't really reach out to them, but any speculation you have on that, why some are not responding?
I've seen it all, Councilman. Sometimes they're too busy to respond to a project this low. Anywhere from anything that you mentioned, it's most of the time it's the bid is going to be too low for them to respond.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, any other questions or comments? No? If not, can I get a motion to award the construction contracts?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is verbal reports. Councilmember Tanaka, do you mind doing your report with your remarks tonight? Okay, thanks. So we're going to begin with our city manager, your council remarks regarding, oh, I'm sorry, I missed something here. Directives, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the time. Does any member of the council have any directives right now? Councilmember Kaskanian, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian, I'm sorry.
I know it's late. Mr. City Manager, the project on southeast corner of Marine and Western, they started some renovation, and it's been there over 4 months maybe, or 6 months, nothing going on, graffiti on the walls, some debris on the parking lot, and I've seen southeast corner. And I've seen a homeless person in the morning, Monday morning at 7 o'clock, leaving the building. So can we get hold of the builder or the owner of the property, see what's going on with the building? There is no gates, no doors on the building. So,
Councilman, I'm assuming you're referring to the old hospital?
No. This is southeast building of Western and Marine. Is the former mechanic shop.
Across from Randy's Donuts.
Southeast corner. Yes, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to get a second. Mr. City Manager, I know our housing element is like 1,500. Can we get an approximate count of what our percentage? I mean, that's a high bar, even with all the development and everything. But if we can get a report for the council to see how close we are to meeting our housing element, because I just think that's almost unobtainable for us to get 1,500 to meet our housing element of 1,500. So I'm just want to see with the ADUs and with everything how close we've gotten as far as our housing number. So if I can,
I'll
get a second
second
for
that too.
Thank you.
Okay, any more directives? If not, Mr. City Manager, do you have remarks regarding those directives?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the directives, responses to directives, I do have a memo in your packets for direction regarding the flavored tobacco regulation. Basically, we have presented to you three options. One is to enact a citywide prohibition on flavored tobacco, including menthol, including or not including menthol. Option two is to prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco except the 10 tobacco-only establishments in the city. And then the third is to wait for state and or federal legislation. Another memo that went out in your packet to highlight Gardena Restaurant Week that runs from October 20th to October 27th. I also have for you City Manager's communication to City Council week ended October 4th. And the DEA National Prescription Take Back Day is Saturday, October 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And last but not least, for those that don't know yet, as of October 16th, former police chief Tom Kang has retired after 37 years. And as of October 17th, Deputy Chief Michael Fell has been appointed as interim police chief, and he's got about 26 years of service.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to begin tonight with council remarks. We're going to start with Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Because the hour is long, I will definitely speed through this as best I can. Since our last council meeting, I attended my final ICA meeting kind of as the outgoing president and everything, just to follow up on our paperless initiative. We met over in Manhattan Beach, so that should be finalized by the end of the year. I also attended the Supervisory District 2 candidates forum that they had over at the Minority Age Project event location. I also attended the LA County 33rd Empowerment Innovation Awards. It's an awards for LA County in regards to all their different programs that are innovative to their department. So that was held at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. So there were 10 finalists, and there 10 finalists, and top 3 got the award. So one thing that I thought was pretty cool was LA County Pools now have a system that's a kind of early warning drowning system with cameras and everything in the water. That was very good. Another one is about a child abuse hotline, and the other one was getting folks from crisis to help and everything. So those are some great projects that are happening in LA County. I also attended the PV Jobs luncheon. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for showing up and everything at that luncheon. PV Jobs is an organization that helps those returning to the community from incarceration get careers in construction and job trades. Also participated in a 5G antenna presentation, kind of with the league, but not with the league, and we're at Route 50 to talk about what we kind of talked about earlier and everything. So that's something we should watch out for. What else? Madam Mayor, I want to also give you some kudos and thanks for attending the Learn for Life event. They were very excited that you were coming and everything, so I told them I couldn't be there, but a surprise would be coming. So they were very excited that you showed up, so I appreciate you representing us at that facility. I'd also want to remind the community that Gardena Direct works, so if you see any bulk items out in the street, please take a picture of it, send it to Gardena Direct, and the city will handle it. Madam Mayor, so ends my report.
Thank you. Next is Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also like to say that the City Council attended the Freeman Park Pitch and Go soccer facility at Freeman Park, and everyone was there, and the kids loved it, and it was really a success. I also attended the 50th anniversary of the Italian Catholic Federation at St. Anthony's, and I DJ'd from 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock for the 20th annual YSO soccer tournament, which is all disabled kids, which is really great. If you see kids in wheelchair or crutches, you see them playing soccer and having a great old time. They fall over and just laugh and get back in the wheelchairs and keep on playing soccer. So I really enjoyed that. And I also attended the, I wanted to thank Gail Leitner for helping me out on the beautification committee. As you know, we always have home of the month, and Gail picked up the slack for me. And that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that,
Just
Councilmember.
want to ask you real quick, could you,
Henderson.
in your remembrances tonight, could you also adjourn, if you're not already going to, Gerald Barnes, who just passed? You have that, and the Honorable Congressman Elijah Cummings, also put him in our adjournment as well. Please, thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, you were finished. Next up is Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make it very quick since we're hitting 11 o'clock. Saturday, October 5th, attended the fundraising pancake breakfast for the K-9 chief. Great community gathering. It was a full house, and I never seen community Nakaoka Center packed like that. And I had to wait in line for a long time to have a breakfast. So it was a great fundraising. The same day, immediately after that, following the pancake breakfast, I attended the Heritage Festival. Full house again. It's a good project. Stephanie, good job, and the staff. What else? I attended the Finance Committee meeting this past Thursday. I can tell the City of Gardena, we are doing great. We are in good shape. Thank you, city staff at the Finance Committee. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for the presentations at the meeting. And that's at my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
One more thing, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And thank you to Jones and Mayer. So we attended their annual dinner at in Long Beach. So we do say thank you for them as well.
Okay, thank you. And for my report, I have a long report, but I'm going to defer it to the next council meeting just because it's so long. But I just have two quick things I just want to say. One is congratulations to Chief Kang on his retirement. Just want to say job well done after 37 years. We're happy for him, and we hope that he just has a very healthy and relaxing retirement. So well wishes to him on that. The other thing is I probably should have mentioned this through our directives, but the young people who spoke today about the e-cigarettes and the vaping, I know there's not much we can do in the schools other than trying to work with Gardena High School, but as it relates to our buses, can we maybe just, I don't know, maybe try to educate our drivers, again, that if they see something or notice something, because I know smoking is not allowed along with e-cigarettes, but if there's something we can do just to kind of get the message across, or maybe put some additional signs up that says e-smoking is like regular smoking, I don't know, or something. But just a quick suggestion. And that's all that I have. Next up is Councilmember Tanaka. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, I've got a real long one unless you want me to defer to next meeting. Because I have to actually report on this League of California Cities. Okay. So all the stuff that I attended it. And the most important one was I attended League of California Cities on behalf of of our city. And I can tell you right now, this conference was way heads above the last year's. The stuff that we attended made a lot of sense this year. It applied to a lot of our current issues. So I attended the Mayor Council meeting, the open session, LA County Division of California Cities. We had lunch and met a lot of great people, did sessions. Now, we talked about vendors on certain things. I wish I had known. Their expo is huge. They actually had portable house bathroom things that you could have looked at and got maybe quotes on. They have infrastructure, rehabilitation. They have everything. So those are the kind of things that the expo actually puts on. So we talked about 2020, the census counting, vested rights and pensions, tracking homelessness, affordable housing. And then I actually voted on behalf of the city for one of the resolutions. Jones and Mayor, thank you very much for dinner. That was greatly appreciated. And just real quickly, I met with Southern Gas Representative Denise Campos and Stacy Trinidad, Marsucci's field rep. And that ends my report.
Okay, just two quick announcements. Number one, it was mentioned earlier, but we do have on this coming Saturday, the DEA prescription take-back, and that's going to be at the Gardena Police Department, right on the outside from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And also, we have our restaurant week, which is going on right now, October 20th through the 27th. And just to give you a quick idea of some of the restaurants that are participating, Jersey Mike's, Oh My Burger, Yo Way, Marie Callender's, Amadine, Grand Fish Tacos, Auntie's Cafe. Some of these are new restaurants. Some are restaurants that have been here for a while. But we definitely want to encourage everyone to participate in Restaurant Week. If you're not familiar with how it works, go to our website at Gardena Awaits and go to the section for Restaurant Week, click on the button, and there are discounts of all sorts, whether it's a percentage off or free dessert or something at these participating restaurants. So once you do that, we're also asking that you take a picture and post it on social media like Instagram and put hashtag Dine Gardena for a chance to win a $25 gift card. So I believe we're on mainly Instagram, and it's Dine_Gardena if you want to hashtag yourself. Okay, and with that, we're going to move on to adjournments. Tonight, we're going to adjourn in memory of Mr. Andrew Watkins, who was 67 years old, and the beloved father of Transit Route Supervisor Ramesses Watkins with the City of Gardena Transportation Department. We're also going to adjourn in memory of Mr. Fraser L. Watts, who was 77 years of age, and the beloved father of Safety and Training Supervisor Fraser Watts with the City of Gardena Transportation Department. We're also going to adjourn in memory of Dr. Evang Teresa K. Washington, who was 67 years old, and the beloved wife of Transit Route Supervisor Johnny Washington with the City of Gardena Transportation Department. We're also going to adjourn in memory of Ms. Freya Myers, who was 71 years old and a dear friend of Julian Berger and a longtime member of the Progressive Democratic Club in Carson. And we're also going to adjourn in memory of Mr. Gerald Barnes, who was 83 years of age. He was a longtime resident of Gardena, and he was the beloved husband of Mrs. Ethel Barnes and the father of Miss Deborah Reed. And then lastly, we're going to adjourn in memory of the Honorable Elijah Cummings. So at this time, the Gardena City Council meeting will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled City Council meeting, which will be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12, 2019. We are adjourned, but Mayor Pro Tem has one quick announcement.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Right after we adjourn, I would like to invite everyone to come to the back room. We have a birthday celebration after 11 o'clock. So please join us after adjournment to celebrate our Councilman Dan Medina's birthday celebration. Thank you.
Okay, we are adjourned.